Good morning, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's having a beautiful day. It is Friday. It is time for Midnight's Edge in the morning. I'm Tom Connors. With me is the boss man, Andre. How you doing?
Greetings, everyone. I am doing excellent. It's been one heck of a week, and after some slow news weeks, boy, do we have a lot to talk about today.
Yes, indeed. Well, there's a few things anyway. But let's introduce the rest of the panel first. We got Culture Casino with us. How you doing?
Fantastic! It's been a lovely Friday so far. I anticipate it'll get even more lovely as we trudge through it. Lots to talk about, though. I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited.
Yes, indeed. And also with us this morning is Paul Chato, former TV executive. He had to step away for a moment, but hopefully he's doing well. But yes, we had an earnings call this week. Disney lost 4 million subscribers. Ava DuVernay is no more at Warner Brothers, and we got some other things to talk about. But before we get too deep into the show, we got some super chats already. Let's see what the chat's talking about. HyperGuyver2 says Bud Light presents They Them of Genius. You're stealing our joke. That's going to be in the June show on Comics Division.
Yeah, and we will, of course, be talking some Bud Light and Anheuser-Busch over the course of the day as well, because there's some interesting news there as well.
Yeah. I guess so. Then Waltman says, "Last time I'll bring up a hall in the town. Ugh. Why complain about 69 minutes of your highest rated segment in years?" And she really was a nasty woman. That whole thing is hilarious. I find it to be the most hilarious thing on the face of the earth because honestly, and this is all I'm going to say about it, and I'm curious what anybody else thinks, but we're not going to get too deep into it. Honestly, the whole thing is he didn't really do anything, but he still owned the hour. So all I really learned out of that was she should not have that job.
No.
And anybody who's bitching about it should just shut the fuck up.
As for the comment, though, why complain? Well, because they have to virtue signal to their own audience. They have to let everyone know that no, we are the same propaganda outlet we always were. We're with you. We're not objective journalists here. We are still with you guys, and we are partisan to the max. So we're just going to distance as much as humanly possible, although no one else would ever have to do that anywhere in the world. But yeah, that's a certain network for you.
And I mean, shit, whether he was being 100% honest or not, he couldn't get a word in edgewise. Like, she kept interrupting him. And then it's like they forgot what this is supposed to be, right? They were like treating it like it's supposed to be a debate or something. It's like, it's a town hall. It's the whole point is for him to get up there and present what, his platform and all that stuff is going to be, right? Culture. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just
but look, and I think, but you hit the nail right on the head. This is the lady, this Caitlin Collins person that they want to put at the 9 o'clock slot at CNN, the most important slot, and she proves she can't even handle an interview or an interaction.
Well, to be fair, though, this isn't an interaction with just anyone, and this was this. I do believe that this was her audition, and they probably had hope that she would completely nail it and silence him and show that she was the one with the bigger balls, so to speak.
Right.
Boy, did that fail.
Oh, it did. And again, I mean, you have a town hall that you've announced well in advance in a community where you're going to pull a bunch of people that are just interested in hearing Trump talk. Of course, you're going to have a resounding support for him within that room. And it didn't help at all that Caitlin was unprepared. And as Tom said, continually interrupting him. It was a fascinating watch. And, it also proves that the media is not prepared. They're not on their feet. All they can do is ask, their same pointed questions to get the same, kinds of responses that they expect. Anytime they're hit with something they don't expect, or anytime they're fact checked, they're unprepared. I mean, there was many times in there that Trump was correcting the misconceptions and the misstatements of the so-called moderator in this situation. So
yeah, I was. The winners here were CNN for their ratings, and the orange man for everyone else. He even says everyone else can just go home now. Like it's clear who the nominee is going to be.
Well, and the beauty of it is everybody who's freaking out about it, they're just proving everybody's point.
Yeah.
Right? Because before that, their whole point was, well, nobody likes this guy. He's a degenerate, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I don't even really care for him all that much on a personal level, but I laughed my ass off watching this thing, Andre.
Yeah.
I laughed through the whole hour. I thought it was hilarious.
Yeah, it was good entertainment.
It was. I was like sitting here thinking, this is the guy that should be hosting the late night shows now.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy.
No, I think they're waking up to the fact that at least half the country is if not with this guy, against everything else that these other guys are about. See, that's the thing they can't comprehend, right? See, because they keep asking, why would anybody like this guy? What? Because I don't care for him either. He's this, he's that, he's the other. It's like, because he's everything you guys don't like. That's why. That's exactly why. Because it drives you nuts. That's why. Because for the same reasons you do everything you're doing to Star Wars, Marvel, you name it. That's why. Right? I mean, do we need to lay it out for people or what?
Of course, then you can compare him talking with the one currently in office and the VP to that, and listen to I'm not even going to get into it. Let's move on with.
Let's do that. Sorry, but yes,
we have a packed show today.
Yes. So we got that. Thank you so much, Walt, man. And yes, we got a placard. Did you ever get yours, Andre? You never told me.
Oh yeah, I have it. I just have to do my unboxing. But meanwhile, Mr. Chato is here, and he has gotten his 100K subscriber plaque. So that's awesome. That was a fantastic birthday.
I heard he wanted it so bad he went to the office and started knocking on YouTube's doors. He's like, "Where's my plaque? Give me my plaque. I earned it. It's mine."
I was thinking to go around the neighborhood and show people who have no idea what even YouTube is.
Well, your first reaction was, "Son of a bitch, they mispronounced my name."
I was going to purposely misspell it on the on the computer that generates the plaque. I thought that'd be funny if I purposely misspell it and then blame YouTube, but no, it's okay.
No, well, congratulations, sir. You've earned it.
Thank you. It's actually, I mean, it's first of all, what we're doing is really weird, but it's curiously, I don't know, confirmational. It feels good. It's like getting your diploma from high school.
No, you graduated and succeeded.
The timing is right.
Not everyone can do that.
Yeah,
and I am grateful to that. I do not take that for granted. So, anyways, yeah, and yeah. So please continue. Thank you very much.
Oh, we were just doing some super chats here to get things rolling. We got STR Red Wolf. Oh, we had Dr. Longdongler. Sorry. Dr. Longdongler sent us a super sticker. Thank you so much, Dr. Longdongler. Almost missed you there. Mm-hmm. Thank you so much for that. Then we had STR Red Wolf who said, "Hail, all saw the video yesterday. Sounds like the old adage is correct. Follow the money. I wonder who's funding DeSantis's campaign." Well, that's a valid question. And I know we were going to talk about this topic, unless you want to kick it off with that, Andre. We'll get back to it.
Yeah, no, we'll get into the ESG and the Anheuser-Busch thing later on here. Well, for those that wonder, today we'll be talking about quite a bit. We'll be talking very little bit about Cleopatra, which I've seen a little bit about.
I loved your ESG video, Andre. That was the clearest explanation of how the mechanism works, that it's a bridge finance bribery, not bribery, but the threat of losing the bridge financing. Anyway, I don't want to, that was great. I just have to say it was fantastic.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, no, literally, that is the business equivalent of a bigger company holding a gun to the head of a smaller company, where the smaller company is a massive, massive worldwide conglomerate. So yeah, we will
There
get
you go.
into that because today we'll kick it off with some very brief Cleopatra review, and we'll be talking the Disney earnings call, or rather the Disney dumpster fire, if the thumbnail image for this stream is any indication. We'll be talking Ava DuVernay to get us into the whole ESG thing. And then we'll get into Anheuser-Busch's and Bud Light's continued decline, because that decline has continued even further, with Wall Street now having degraded that stock. Finally, we'll talk some Conan the Barbarian. And over the course of this stream, we even have some exclusive Star Trek scoops for you as well that will fit in here somewhere. So we do have a packed show for you today. So everyone, please smash that like, help share the stream, especially on Facebook, and let everyone know that we are live, because certainly this platform isn't going to let you know.
Indeed. Jeremiah Hembry sends in $5 and says, "What is the best memory you have of you guys this mother?" I think he means of your mother this Mother's Day, I'm assuming. Oh wow, that's a good question. Start with you, Paul, since you're the oldest. Oh, you're eating. Okay, culture.
The best memory. That's a tough one, especially to be placed in because I mean, there's so many different great memories with my mom. I still have to. Here's okay. This is anecdotal from my mom across the board. It sums her up to a T. Because of the situation that the family was in, we oftentimes didn't have my dad in the house all the time because of work and things like that. And so we were coming up on Christmas, and it was Christmas Eve. And as the oldest sibling, I would put the Christmas gifts together when Dad wasn't in the house. So I would put those together, and that was kind of fun. Well, one year my mother said, your dad is getting a new computer, and he's going to need a desk, and so here is the desk, if you wouldn't mind putting this together, and put it together downstairs in the basement. And so I went down there, and I'd already put together a bunch of stuff, like some, I think they're called Omegals. They were like, giant, like Tinker Toys that kids could play on anyway. So put a thing together for that, because that was a gift for one of the kids. And I put together this desk, right? Come to find out, my mother was super sneaky.
I know it's coming.
I had literally just put together my computer desk.
Yeah.
My own computer desk. I came downstairs in the morning, and it had my name on it and a bow, along with a new computer setup. It was incredible. So yeah, that my mom would do stuff like that all the time, and just she was so crafty and so aware of how I worked, that she could manipulate me into stuff like that. So it was that's a fun memory. But my mom was, and still is to this day, just amazing woman. So very blessed.
Yeah. Wonderful. Tom, how about you?
Gosh, I haven't really thought of one yet. Paul?
So I have good and bittersweet. I mean, in the sense that my mom managed to avoid the Holocaust. She was rounded up in Budapest, in the Budapest ghetto. And twice she managed to avoid the train into Auschwitz. So that's a story she told me later on in life, because it's not something that she talked about. So that's a powerful memory. Also, I mean, once the Soviets came in, then she had to escape the Soviets. And that's a pretty horrific story, which I don't want to talk about now. But I'm blessed with that, in the sense that I don't think many people. How do I say this? At least it gives me an idea of the hardship people went through at the time and how good we have it now. And when I see people screaming on TikTok about how terrible their life is because they were misgendered or something, I don't know. I just think of my mom, and it centers me and allows me to get through life, because no matter how bad something happens with me, I think about what my parents went through, and what I'm going through at my low moments is not a fraction of what they went through, and I feel blessed having the strength of my parents to be able to get me through crappy moments. But the funny story was, my mom, I don't know how, this wonderful Hungarian woman who sounded like Zsa Zsa Gabor, loved Canadian hockey. And my dad knew nothing about hockey. Nothing, zero. And she would be screaming at the screen when the Maple Leafs would not score a goal. She'd be yelling about Tim Horton missing, or Mahovlich not working hard enough to get into the opposite zone. And my dad would come into the room with a sandwich, and he would say something like, why don't they get what's his name, Gordie Howe from why don't they just get Gordie Howe from Detroit? And mom would just scream at him, he is the number one player in the NHL for Detroit, they will never trade him. and then the punchline to that is, during the Russian Canada hockey series, which you could only get tickets by lottery, it was the hottest, most important hockey game of all time. And my dad actually entered the lottery and got us 2 blue seats for the Toronto hockey, Toronto episode of the Canada Russian hockey game. And my mom and I went, and those are 2 big fond memories that I have of my mom.
Yeah, that's a
Wow.
great story. And
yeah, we got to follow that up, Andre. Yeah.
Well, we'll follow it up with this super chat. Mr. Tickletrunk says, for 11 Canadian dollars, respect to Chato's mother. My grandmother had to duck the Hungarian secret police and escaped with my 3-year-old mother. Took 6 months to get to Canada with nothing but the winter clothes on their backs.
Here's to all immigrants. To all immigrants, thank you. I mean, you're amazing what you've done. So I wonder if that's during the present, like 1956 secret police, or the Arrow. What is it? I can't remember. The Hungarians had their own Nazis, because you can't have too many of them. Arrow Cross, that's what they were called.
Indeed. So, Tommy, you have a story you want to share, or shall we move on with a couple of
nothing that can compete with that. I'll just say Happy Mother's Day to my mom, and thanks for putting up with me. So, yeah.
I wasn't trying to.
No, it's just, I can't think of anything that wouldn't come off as just kind of like, oh, that's quaint. After that, basically. And Andre doesn't sound like he has anything to really add to it either. So Vincent DeLeon says, have you guys ever thought about the possible creation of a new company strictly for our style of movies? Maybe a total reboot of Hollywood in general. A Trump Slade that nobody want to be Kelly. We have thought about that. We thought about just buying Canon Films back, starting over again with Canon. No, we've kind of brought that up as a joke, but no, in all seriousness, it's something we've discussed before, but it would definitely be something way off in the future when we can actually afford it.
I would love to take Midnight's Edge Productions into actual filmmaking, like the Critical Drinker is doing right now. I would seriously love to do that, but the financials aren't there yet. Just have to put it that way. Yeah.
And yes, Canon, as in Canon Pictures. Yes, we want to bring it back.
Yeah.
Boobs, babes, and explosions.
You need a couple of Israelis on board to really do that right.
Sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. Bring on the Israelis. I agree.
Yep.
Can't do canon without Israelis.
No.
We need some Mossad types as well.
You know what we do need more than anything else is, now that our IPs have been stolen and crashed, we need new IPs. That's really what we need, and not sell them off to Netflix and everybody else who's willing to destroy them.
Again, it's a funding question.
Yeah, that's true. So,
Indeed. Then we've got JRG Projects here, who says that Townhall wouldn't have happened without the blessing of CEO Chris Lee. Jeff Zucker wouldn't have had the stones. Yeah. I'm sure that's a big part of it too. Dark King says, if AI gets rid of DEI hacks, bring on Chato GPT.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you may be optimistic there. The only thing that the AI is going to do, it's going to get rid of DEI hacks, which are going to have to be on welfare instead, in addition to plenty other talented writers that will be gone as well. This is like the problem across the board with optimization. It's really, really good for the owner of the company. It's horrendous for the economy, because that means that you suddenly have tons and tons of people that used to be gainfully employed whose jobs just disappeared, and that no good will come from that. And the ones that stand to gain from that are the same people pushing DEI in the first place, ironically. So yeah, let's not hope for that too much. Bigger picture. And moving on from there, Mr. Tickle Trunk says,
whoops, go ahead.
Yeah. Congrats, Chato, for the 100K YouTube fridge magnet.
He sent it twice for some reason. I think because
he really meant that.
He messed up the first time. But thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk, for the support. And I'm sure Paul appreciates the kind words. You're muted, Paul.
Yeah, sorry. I do. I very much appreciate it. And should we refund him that he did it twice? Can we get him back the first 220?
No, we'll go with that. He felt it so strongly it was worth saying twice.
Well, you are very sweet, and thank you very much, Mr. Tickle Trunk.
Yeah. So now it's 440.
And then we've got Eclipse Warlord, who's been a member for 16 months at the Edgelord level and says, late start. Trying to make Ricada look punctual. I bet it's Tom's fault. Disney is self-damaging in epic ways. Actually, Paul was the last one here this morning.
Yeah, that was me.
He thinks he's big shit now that he's got that.
He does.
I could. Yeah.
I
can just walk in. I don't have to be here on time, fuckers. I got a plaque.
I want to brand new fridge magnet.
That's right. I can be the Bill Murray of this group.
Yeah.
Just show up whenever.
Just whenever. Yeah. He might be here. Dark King sends us a super, this is a member chat. It says DEI hacks for reasons laid out in Midnight's Edge's Bud Light video. Studios need credit lines, which require high ESG scores, which require DEI hires. Ergo, the DEI hacks will remain.
Yes. They are going to be very.
We'll
very
get back to all that stuff.
We'll get back to that. We will get back to that eventually. Meanwhile, smash that like, help share the stream, and we're about to get into the main.
And we got this one already, right?
Today. Yes, we did get that one.
I just want to make sure I get that out of the reservoir here, whatever you call it. And then strike, burn it all down. Says, don't tease us. Tell us all about Star Trek.
Yes, let's do that. Tom, you've heard news.
Well, this is a short update.
So everyone gather around. Our Star Trek coverage has been pretty on the mark, especially as of late, where we exclusively were able to scoop the official announcement of Section 31 by a good 2 weeks. So, Tom, what do you have for us today?
Well, it seems like it's that time of the season for a Star Trek 4 announcement. Because Andre, he'll remind you, like every 4 to 6 months,
every so often,
after a director leaves, we get a new one, just like the old one, who comes in We're up to what, 5 now, I think, on Star Trek 4.
I've lost count. I will just say that we have gotten regular Star Trek 4 announcements on and off since summer of 2016.
I think we're up to 5 now, but let's make that an even 6 or whatever you want to call it, because we're getting Star Trek Forever. That's what it's going to be called. So it's almost like unironic that they're calling it that, because it's going to be forever before we probably finally see it. So again, take this with a grain of salt, kids. This is a rumor. But the 4th film in the Kelvin timeline is called Star Trek Forever. It will be overseen by Secret Hideout and Not Bad Robot. And it looks like it may be being produced for Paramount Plus. Now here's the beauty, kids. It's already written. So I don't have to worry about writers.
Yeah, because nothing gets rewritten while it's being shot.
No, well, in this case, that's what it sounds like. Whiz Bang Films and Take 5 Productions are also companies behind it. The individual, though, this is the news here. The individual, or the victim this time around, will be Chris Byrne, or Byrne, however you say it.
Chris Byrne would be the director then of Star Trek Forever.
That's the next patient in line, I guess. And you may have heard of him before. He has worked on things like he's worked on. Let's see here.
I recognize the name. I can't place it though.
I see him mostly. This is an actor. I don't think this is the right guy.
Maybe he's not the director, but he's somehow attached to it.
Well, here we got some. No, this is the guy right here. I got it. Because he's worked with Brian Fuller and on Star Trek Discovery before. So there you go. And Strange New Worlds. He's been a director on a couple of the series. Guess who else he's worked with on Clarice? So chances are this is our guy.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kind of believing this more than I did when I first heard it.
Yeah. He would be part of the family.
Fart catcher.
Yeah. Hannibal he's worked on as well. See, he's cross-pollinated between these two.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yep. He's a fart catcher.
Would you care to elaborate on that term, fart catcher, for those of us who aren't former TIA network executives?
That's
this, I guess, is a term that you would throw around in your circles. Please define for us Webster's definition of fart catcher.
Well, as you know, the exhalation of that noxious gas comes from a certain part of the human anatomy, and it's very hard to catch. So you have to be behind someone all the time, hands cupped, walking, getting ready for that moment, just so you can catch that predation. So you have to be very obsequious.
So this is someone who's very committed in his career, we could put it that way.
Correct. That is
very committed and very strategic, and someone that will have been trailing both Alex Kurtzman and a few other select people,
maybe
in that
JJ,
general sphere, very closely, very closely.
So that's the explanation, and I bet you haven't heard the word predation on this channel in weeks.
No, I was starting to think you were Culture Casino there for a minute, using all these fancy words.
He's good with the fancy words.
He is good with fancy words.
No, I'm plain spoken. Simple.
Boy, you talk prettier than a $2 hooker.
Okay.
But let's be expeditious and move on.
That was from Blazing Saddles. But yeah, so that's the news, kids. Again, this guy, I'm sure he'll last a little longer than the rest, maybe, especially if it's meant to be straight for streaming. So what's your guys' reactions to this? Do you believe the news? Yeah.
Well, is it going to be Chris Pine starring in it?
Yeah, it would technically be that cast, I would imagine.
Yeah. But straight to Paramount Plus seems to be a huge amount of effort for not a lot of results. That makes no sense.
That might be. I have a reason to think they might be doing this. I wonder if that means they have to renegotiate the contracts. Maybe
That they will
Andre.
have to do, because that's been like a sticking point there for a very long time now already. So they may not be able to get Chris Pine. Of course, considering how like Dungeons and Dragons fell apart, Chris Pine might be more.
Well, what I mean, Andre, is they might, since it's not going to be a theatrical release, wouldn't it be a completely different contract altogether? That's what I'm getting at.
Well, the previous contract should have been long since expired by now.
That's what I'm
anyway.
saying. Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to have to get everyone together. So that's, I think the casting is going to be the big challenge here. But in terms of who's involved with it, like this Byrne fella, this fart catcher, I was about to say fart knocker, but that was something else.
Yeah.
But it does ring true. And you know who it reminds me of? Those two numbnuts whose name I've forgotten. The guys who did the Ranks of Power. They were also
gosh, what's their names?
McKay.
McKay.
Yeah,
and,
exactly. Those two dudes, the guys that wrote the very first version of Star Trek for it to never happen, incidentally. They're also such thought catchers, as you describe them.
Andre, you like this term.
No, I'm just quick on the uptake. Yeah, thank you, Professor Etienne. J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I absolutely do not think that the four main stars would want to have something that isn't played in the theaters right now. They would mix it.
You might be right, but I think if they give him close to enough, and here's what I think is going to happen. I think that at least one of the individuals is not going to come back, and it ain't Chris Pine. He'll be there because they'll make sure they pay him. They'll make sure they got Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and the guy, I can never remember his name.
Zoe Saldana?
Carl Urban?
Carl Urban. Zoe won't show up, though. She'll be too expensive. She'll either get recast or she will just be not there.
It'll be very easy for her and Spock to have broken up, so she's off at another ship right now.
Because she'll be off filming Avatar 6 anyway.
Yeah.
Unless she dies in the second one and I didn't know it. Spoilers if anybody knows. I have no idea. But I think that's probably the case. I think you're right on that, Paul.
There's no way.
I get what you're saying, but I think you're right more so on the fact that he has been struggling as of late to have a successful film outside of anything. His last successful film probably would have been Wonder Woman, if you think about it. And Dungeons and Dragons was his new shot at something different, and it didn't quite pan out.
Yeah, but
and it would have reduced his calling price.
True. Well, it takes maybe more than one movie to do that, actually.
We might not know that maybe perhaps there was a deal in the Dungeons and Dragons thing that came with Star Trek as a part of the contract. We don't know. Because if his other contract was expired and they decided to do it on Disney Plus or Paramount Plus like this, and the info, when it comes out, we'll find out more how far along they are. But to me, this sounds like something they're rushing into production because they got a finished script. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, they have to rush it before the directors go on strike.
Yeah, that too.
They just don't want another Black Widow incident.
Yeah. Well, and I know Carl Urban and Zachary Quinto would be easier to get. I mean, you might be right on Pine, but even if they got to recast him, I don't see that especially for Paramount Plus. They'll probably just use the guy they're using on Strange New Worlds, I'd bet.
Probably.
Oh, him, right. I got you what you mean. Yeah. But Urban is just a fantastic McCoy.
Yeah, they can't. When he's affordable enough, I don't see why they wouldn't.
Urban is a chameleon.
The only other one I could see not coming back would be what's his face, Simon Pegg. Sorry, go ahead, Andre.
Yeah, Simon Pegg. He's not coming back.
I just see him as being too loyal to JJ and stuff like that, and he probably would have a little bit more of an asking price.
Well, this is still in the family, so
technically, yes.
And what's happened to Simon Pegg? He was pretty cool back in the Hot Fuzz days, and even his movie Paul. And then after that, it's like nothing. I mean, was not a fan of his Scotty.
Was he in the last few Mission Impossible movies?
Star Trek Beyond did a number on him because he wrote that movie.
Right, that was
and
terrible.
it was one of the biggest flops in history. It didn't do any wonders for his career.
Then again, you're right. He might be there because he might be attached as like a producer or some shit for all we know.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Again, he's part of the family, so
That's
we'll
what
just
I
have to
mean.
wait and see.
But I mean, he's been a part of The Boys and some other things. He's been working. It just looks like a lot more TV than anything.
Was he behind the scenes on The Boys?
Yes.
He's Hugh's dad on 6 episodes.
Yeah.
All right.
He actually did a voice for Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh.
So he's been working the whole time. It's
no. I'm sure he has work.
But Star Trek Beyond did something to limit his like massive.
Yeah,
appeal.
since then he hasn't really done anything that I would consider necessarily A-list.
Well,
But we are regrettably losing culture here. But I know.
Yeah,
that you had
speaking
something you
of
wanted to-
Mission Impossible, yeah, he's
An
a big
A-list.
fan.
yeah, and look, I think Simon Pegg just needs to get back into the flow of the things he used to do and not try to expand what he does. Sometimes it's okay to fit in a pigeonhole. Sometimes it's okay to be the smarmy, funny guy, right? And he again, you learn that through the course of a career. But I do have to step out. But I may be back here. If all things cooperate.
I hope so. I would love to have you here for the Anheuser-Busch discussion. Which we
Ooh,
will
I
get
would love to.
before long,
I would love to be here for that. And if you have not seen the video that was put together by Midnight's Edge on this subject matter, you got to watch it. So if you as soon as we're done with this stream, go and watch the video, because Tom and Andre and everybody over the whole team put together a great video that breaks down exactly the barrel that that's an interesting word. Barrel that
Culture Casino is a real man of genius.
I wish. Anyway, I got to step out. Thank you guys. I'll see you soon.
See you, Culture.
Take care, Culture.
Take care.
So that's the Star Trek news, kids. So take it with a grain of salt, but I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that announcement here pretty soon. Tipping Barn says, love the ESG video. That being said, what can be done about it? Seems like companies are screwed no matter who they side with it without credit lines.
Well, there's actually one thing you can do. And that is, like, you as an individual, you can do one thing only. You can, or actually two things. One is that you can vote with your wallet, and you can try to vote against the companies that do the most extreme ESG adaptations, like Anheuser-Busch. So all you have to do to make your voice heard right there is that if you drink beer, then just keep on drinking beer. Just buy one that isn't from that company. So that's one thing you can do. The other thing you can do is spread awareness about ESG. Like, for instance, if there was a video that breaks it down, like, maybe share that video. That would do wonders.
If only there was one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
really, that's it. That's all
Yeah.
you can do. Because as an individual, you can do no more than do those two things, because it's going to take population level concerted effort to actually make a difference here.
There you go. Hitchhiker 42 says, will Bob Iger be Eltoned on Sunday by the board? No, I don't think so. He is there for political transition. This was something they knew they were going to have to be facing. Don't think that they didn't know ahead of time that this next year or so is going to be a tough ride for them. They needed a politician on board so that the civilians would stay calm inside while they're being systematically axed, basically.
Marched out the door.
Basically, yeah, without getting too dark. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that he's going to be there for the rest of his term, though, because
We'll see.
Right now the company is being run into the ground. But I think the only reason that he hasn't been frog marched out already is that he must already have told Nelson Peltz, this is what we're doing, and this is who we're firing. Because this is something that, well, Actually, let's get into that right away, since we are on that topic.
Good transition into the earnings call, because
Yeah, let us get into the Walt Disney earnings call, because that was just a couple of days ago. We haven't covered it here on the main channel yet. Now, let's just first say that it wasn't this unbelievable affair that it was the last time. The last time, that was one for the ages. That was a train wreck where Bob Iger was outright assaulted several times over by his own shareholders that must have lied in the pre-screening about what questions they were going to ask, because they all asked him, what the hell are you doing with all this activism? What's with all of the, how do I put it, with all the gay stuff you're forcing in here, driving away families? What are you doing? Those are the questions he was faced with, and he was faced with them live. None of that happened this time. He got some tough questions, but they weren't that tough, and they appeared to be very well screened this time. So the biggest news that kind of came out of it was that Disney, they are in something of a downwards spiral, and they missed all of their estimated financial goals. They missed all of them. The biggest thing was the growth in subscribers for Disney Plus, which was a negative 4.6 million. Most of that from India, because India lost some cricket championship.
they used that excuse like 6 months ago, though, Andre.
Yeah, but it's probably the same thing. But still, it has stagnated as hell, and it's probably losing subscribers in the West as well. And that's really, really bad for them. To the point where Bob Iger even had to admit that they have to do something about their spending on Disney Plus, because they're spending all this money on making and marketing Disney Plus series, and they're just not getting their money's worth for it in terms of new subscribers. That's a dig at Marvel and Star Wars, because they're the ones costing stuff there, only going to show that all of Phase 4 was a complete bust. And
before we jump too deep into that, I just want to say this about the whole India 4 million subscriber thing. They keep using that as spin excuse. From what I remember, they weren't getting jack shit from any of those subscribers in India anyway. So if they're hurting, it has very little to do with that. They're losing, they're bleeding subscribers in the US as well.
Yeah.
Don't let them lie to you on that. Because that's where the money's at. Sorry.
This is over the same time frame that Netflix has grown with 7 million.
Oh, interesting.
So it's Disney Plus in particular that is declining. And we saw the markets respond to this instantly, with the Disney stock the very next day dropping by nearly 5%. So that's a pretty
Actually,
hefty,
it got so low as it got below 9 at one point.
Yeah, but that's at one point. That wasn't for the day as a whole. But yeah.
No, but I'm just saying that's how bad it was after that.
It was bad, and you even have like analysts coming out and saying that they do believe that there's still long-term value in Disney, but for the foreseeable future, investors better brace themselves for a rough ride, because it's going to be rough, because there's no indication that it's going to change. That's the important thing here. The market doesn't believe there's anything Disney can do to change the current trajectory they're on right now, because they just don't have any momentum. Paul, you were saying.
So is that 95? What's the multiple on that? Does anyone know?
That I have not studied in detail. So now,
like, how inflated is that anyway, versus its actual cash flow value?
Yeah, again, that I would have to look up.
So I'd be curious to see whether that's inflated already. I mean, that's part of the problem with the modern stock market, is that it's basically gambling. Because I mean, why would you invest in a stock that is, it basically is valued 10 years into the future?
Yeah, very good point. And Matthew W. also, and a few others, point out that That
It's down even
right
more
now it's
today.
down even more. That now it's down 91. Now it's 91.41 at the time of now.
And the other problem Disney has versus Netflix is that for the most part, every single subscriber is a real paid subscriber for Netflix, whereas Disney is still giving away a long-term 6-month, maybe even a year deals with not Verizon anymore, but the old Verizon one. People are still using it.
As I say, my kid, I still get it for free through my kid's Verizon. Yeah.
Correct. And then the other one, I can't remember the pink one, has been doing that lately. And I've had a lot of customers, not customers, but people online telling me, oh yeah, when my free Disney subscription runs out with T-Mobile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're going to go. So I thank you, Thunder Duck. That's part of their big problem is that people aren't really. I don't know what percentage of people are actually paying for the service.
That's a good question. And that's where I was saying about this loss, right? Like for the loss to have really affected them. That's why I'm not so much, I don't believe this spin about India, because if I remember like Culture and Valiant's reporting on that, they were only getting like $1.25 per customer or whatever it was out of that whole deal there. So I think that's why they didn't pick up the cricket deal. You know what I mean? Like why pay all the money for these sports deals if you're not really making any money off these customers anyway?
Now the Indian deals are very low value.
That's what I mean. So why would I understand why they wouldn't fork over the money? Because that's why I don't think they're using that as spin, right? To me, that's like when Netflix was all like, "Oh yeah, we're down," but it's just because we dumped, Russia. That's why.
Right.
If there ever was spin, it was that.
Yeah.
And this is the same kind of spin because this has been an excuse already for 6-7 months in the past. And I think it may even been longer than that because Culture was talking about it last night when he was, we were talking about it way back when those guys brought it up.
Yes. We've lost the 8 Russian paid customers,
Yeah.
but we maintain the 10 million
Well, they have their own Netflix now. So.
Yeah, Netflix. We got the people who are hackers who've got Netflix.
No, we just have videos and we come to your house. Okay, it's Netflix.
That's Netflix.
You watch video with me.
I have to go into a cinema with my phone.
You've never seen the
movie. Then I come by.
I take it Paul's never seen the Netflix commercials before, but we'll save those for another time.
I believe I did. Very good. No, they were good.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so like overall, I mean, for their stock to be down this bad, this is there's more to this.
I think it should be lower. I'm actually really surprised that it can't. It hasn't been nailed below 90.
Well, that's now it's at 91 something. So next week it could be in the high 80s. This very well could happen because just remember that the last movie that had really any chance of like being good for them was Guardians of the Galaxy, and it's underperforming. And I know that the industry desperately wants the Little Mermaid remake.
I was just going to say, now I know why they're boasting the hell out of that in the last week.
Yeah, I maintain what I said before. I see why they think that because so many of the Disney live action remakes have made it to $1 billion, but I counter, except for the ones that they dumped straight to Disney Plus, which has then created inflation of animated Disney remakes, and they suck. So that people will get burned on by it as well. Like, why would you want to go and see diverse Ariel just straight after diverse Peter Pan was dumped on Disney Plus, where everyone can see it easily if they even want to finish it? And then you have the overall damage to the Disney brand, like all of those live action remakes that did $1 billion. Well, that was before Lightyear. That was before Strange World. That was before Quantumania. I don't believe that parents trust the Disney brand
I don't
level
disagree with you,
really
Andre. The only
cooking.
difference I will say here with Little Mermaid is that it's in that Renaissance era, and all those remakes have crossed the $1 billion mark. That's
But I would say that all those remakes actually had a psychologically negative uh, cum- a cumulative effect.
I want to
It,
believe it, but
it's you're draining your savings account.
well, this is going to be the test, right? Like Paul, like
No, I think this is
I
part
hope
of
you
it,
guys.
though.
Well, I hope you guys are right, but I'm not going to be
No.
surprised
I'm
when
not.
this movie makes $1 billion.
No.
Is all I'm saying.
But it doesn't matter whether it makes $1 billion. That's not my point. My point is, unless you're creating new stuff, I mean, think of the heyday of Disney with, the wacky professor, Flubber, they just came out with one original thing, Herbie the Love Bug, and I think the gang that couldn't shoot straight was theirs, and it was just one fun family movie after another, and then that builds up your psychic brand or your brand. I mean, brand is a psychic experience, but these remakes drain that, because your creative people should be spent making new IPs. It shouldn't be used to just dredge up all this old stuff. Yeah, you're going to make $1 billion, but the long-term harm, I think, is way too great, and it's being
no
proven.
argument there, but they don't care because they're in it for now, right? And they need this. They need this.
No, I get it, but where do they have the new Herbie the Love Bug? Where's Freaky Friday?
Well, actually,
are
they
these
just
things?
announced a sequel to Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and what's her ass
With Lindsay Lohan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the one.
But that's old though.
I know, but they just announced it yesterday. I'm not kidding.
What?
Yeah, they're doing
Like-
an
An updated one where both of them look like hags?
I imagine so.
Yeah, where the older hag goes into the body of the slightly younger hag and vice versa. So they get like so she gets like a preview.
Well, what's funny is
This'll
Lindsay
be you in
Lohan
2
looks.
years.
What's funny is Lindsay Lohan looks older than Jamie Lee Curtis.
I'm
now.
not
That's what I
surprised.
mean.
It's saggy tits on top of it all. No, it'll probably be Lindsay Lohan having a kid now. I'd imagine, being it's that many years. But
Wow.
we'll have to see. But Herbie, on the other hand, they've tried and tried and tried and tried and tried.
Well, they did a Lindsay Lohan Herbie that was quite good.
They did. It did okay.
Justin Long.
Yeah, that one did okay.
I mean, I have no idea what their box office was, but the movie was enjoyable.
Okay is the best I could put for it. Like, yeah, it did okay, but not like anywhere. Because if it'd done better, they would have done more Herbie movies. There's still do you guys realize that there was a Bruce Campbell Herbie movie that's hard to come by?
Really?
Yes, people forget about this. They did a TV remake / sequel of The Love Bug, and Bruce Campbell plays the son of the original character. I can't remember his name now.
Well, they did do several straight to VHS Herbies. There are a bunch.
Well, most of those were theatrical. They did a TV series, and then they did that movie I'm talking about. But they never released it anywhere else outside of VHS. It has not seen the light of day since.
But still, my point is, where is that Disney fair? Where is the Shaggy DA? Where are those movies?
Well, they just
now?
redid the Shaggy Dog with God, who was it?
Man, you have an answer for everything.
They did. That's what I'm saying. They've tried this stuff, Paul.
No, but they don't need remakes of the Shaggy DA. Like, they need to make new ones. New stuff.
The closest thing they got to that was Frozen.
New stuff of their old stuff. That's what Disney does.
That's really what they've done for the last 40, 50 years. Yeah, it's just new stuff of their old stuff, really.
They're bankrupt.
Yeah.
Creatively, absolutely.
Well, I thought there was one after the Tim Allen one. I thought they just redid one for Disney Plus here, but somebody reminded me if I'm wrong. But
the Santa Claus, was that a Disney movie?
The newer one, yeah. No, but I mean, I swore they did another, because they did the Tim Allen one. That was like almost 15, 20 years ago. But I swear they did another one recently for Disney Plus, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, but I don't think it was that successful.
Oh, none of them have been. No, and that's what Andre, and I agree with Andre. None of their other remakes, rebootquels, whatever, have really been successful outside of the Renaissance era films, and that's the only reason I've been stuck on this idea that this one will probably make $1 billion. And I know, to your point, Paul, it's not what you're saying, and I get you.
Oh,
But-
I think this could very well make $1 billion if it.
But as
captures
far
the
as like
young
that
girl
Disney
crowd.
we have not seen that Disney since the 2000s, right? Like they did try a few new things, like what was that superhero one with Kurt Russell, where it was like the
Yes,
something high. I can't remember
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it was.
yeah.
And they had a few other ones there. They
that
had
was fun.
the
I didn't
gerbil
mind
one. They
that. But
had.
that's still old.
I
That-
know, but that's what I'm saying. That's the last era they really tried any of this kind of stuff, where they
Wow.
actually tried to do new IPs within the Disney umbrella, right? They had the G-Force or whatever it was, the gerbil.
Superhero High School or something.
Sky High was what it was
Sky
called. Thank
High.
you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what I'm saying. They haven't really done anything since then where they've had this.
Yeah, Sky High is like almost 20 years old.
That's
by
what
now.
I'm saying. It's been that long.
But that's because they've been preoccupied ditching these purchased IPs, like driving them into the ground, so they're valueless. That's they've been preoccupied with that.
Pirates of the Caribbean would be their last original thing. Sorry.
Yeah.
While at the same time letting their own proprietary brands that made them famous completely languish.
Yep.
Like, for instance, the obvious answer, the Disney answer to Super Mario should be Mickey Mouse, and they're letting it completely languish.
I don't know if Mickey could fly anymore, Andre. I get what you're saying, but this is why I don't think they've really fought for the last year or two to try and extend him any farther.
Hey.
You can make anything successful with the right vision and with the right efforts
I
behind
agree with
it.
Andre.
And they haven't done that.
Where's the
Of
attempt?
course, Mickey Mouse, Donald, they can all fly today. You just have to do them right. You have to find a way to do them which makes them as magical for kids today as they were for kids in the 30s, 40s, 50s.
Well, in
60s,
this generation
70s, 80s, 90s.
that's grown up now, they know Mickey Mouse from Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, right?
No, that's actually the previous generation. The kids that are growing up right now don't know Mickey at all.
Well, the kid, like your age kids, yes. I'm talking about the adults now. That's what I'm saying. So, like, there's no, I don't know. Mickey is kind of, I hate saying it, but almost kind of lost us, especially up against
they have to
characters like
brand.
Mario. Yeah.
Yeah,
They have
I
to
agree with
rebuild
Andre.
the brand, but it's a brand that they have, and it's one they have less language. Because
for only 2 years, maybe.
It's the worst thing that Bob Iger did in retrospect. Everything that Bob Iger did, he can be defended from a fiscal point of view, because under him, the value of Disney for a long while absolutely skyrocketed. But all he did was that he made acquisitions, and he made non-Disney things into Disney things that didn't have Disney soul or something. For instance, he acquired Marvel. Marvel is not Disney. Walt Disney had nothing to do with Marvel, so that was something acquired. Same thing with Pixar, same thing with Lucasfilm. These are the things which are driving Disney right now from a creative entertainment point of view. But the original creations and the visions of Walt Disney, that's gone now. That's nowhere to be seen. And that is something that was allowed to languish and die under Bob Iger. There were still like some Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck stuff coming out under Eisner, not under Iger. Iger, he went completely with the stuff that we bought, that's Disney now, and that worked great financially. But what it means right now, when those things are have been run into the ground, because they did that in the name of ESG, that's what killed both Marvel and Lucasfilm. I have more details on that in a later video, actually. But what they have right now is that they have left their own brands, which built Disney from scratch. They've allowed it to languish for decades.
Well, they didn't have the manpower. They didn't have the brain power to do it.
No, that's by choice.
I think so. I mean,
yeah.
Could Mickey have been rebuilt as a Mario character? Absolutely.
Absolutely, it could.
Perhaps, but they didn't care enough, and he's gonna fall into public domain anyway.
And I just thought of a new Freaky Friday. Rather than two women, one of them's a trans woman, and when they do the switch, he finally gets a vagina.
And then doesn't want to switch back.
Correct.
but he has an existential problem because it's his mother.
There you go.
Well, there's more to this, obviously.
It's quite gross.
This is the really important thing right here. So Tom, take us through this story.
Yeah, there's more to this. It just keeps getting better for Mr. Iger here. Because according to our good buddy Andrew over at Legal Mindset, things that Bob said could have massive implications that could include criminal penalties, and billions of dollars are at stake. Because Bob went and threw out the old, well, if DeSantis wants to keep our business and our taxes, he might want to play ball kind of thing.
Mm.
So he kind of drew another line in the sand here. And look, at this point, I'm curious the size of balls that Bob Iger's got, because he's playing with fire here. If you ask me, where are they going to fucking move to? Where could they afford? And how the hell could they ever afford to move, just uproot and move Disney out of Florida? That ain't going to happen.
It's going to be one of those midnight moves.
Yeah. To be fair, I don't think he was threatening that. He was like threatening, we're thinking of expanding for 15 billion, but maybe we'll just buy like candy with that money instead. It's more that kind of threat. But still, the bigger issue here is, you're right, Tom, because here I just want to highlight to everyone who's new, we have, in addition to the Midnight's Edge main channel, we also have Midnight's Edge After Dark, where Tom holds streams, stuff like that. Plus, we have Midnight's Edge Espanol and Live Archives. And in Live Archives is where you'll find all our previous streams, including clips of earlier streams. And one especially pertinent clip is a recent one where we had Andrew from Legal Mindset come on and break down in detail exactly what is going on with Reedy Creek. And Andrew Esquire just so happens to be an expert in the field of special districts in the state of Florida. So he knows exactly what is up with this, and he broke it down in detail for us. So head on over to Live Archives, check out that clip.
He was great.
Where it's broken, where it'll be
he was
broken down.
Absolutely a star on that segment of the show.
And two things have happened since then. One is that DeSantis, either he has proper lawyers, or some of his lawyers have actually been watching Andrew Esquire and said, okay, so that's what's going on here.
Yeah.
Because DeSantis, he basically repeated Andrew's talking points in an interview just a few days ago, where he basically said, we haven't done anything to Disney. We haven't taken anything away from Disney. We've simply dissolved the Reedy Creek Development District, which is its own legally separate thing and not part of Disney. And a problem that Disney appears to have is that they're conflating Reedy Creek with Disney, and that is fraud and opens them to litigation and everything like that. And this is something that Bob Iger evidently isn't aware of. His LA and New York-based lawyers evidently aren't aware of the legalities surrounding the Florida special districts. Because here, in this story that is referenced by Bounding Into Comics, great publication, he keeps on doing it again. He conflates Disney and Reedy Creek, talking about Reedy Creek as us, as Disney, and how this is something that was done to them. DeSantis retaliated against Disney. But the fact of the matter is, he hasn't done shit to Disney. He simply dissolved the independent district that was Reedy Creek. Nothing has been done to Disney in any way. So,
yes and no. Yeah, I mean, the way Andrew mentioned it is that Disney actually screwed themselves by trying to create this entity that, on paper, they distanced themselves from Reedy Creek, but for all intents and purposes, they managed it. And so DeSantis coming in and saying, well, this has nothing to do with you. You have it. This is how you've structured it. What are you complaining about? And Disney's going, well, no, this really is ours. And they had control over it. And I mean, I think it's all pretty clever.
Yeah. Yeah, they have control of it, but what they have, and this is
Oh, we lost Andre.
Bob Iger, he evidently has no idea what's going on here, really. So I think that their lawyers aren't aware which laws are actually at stake here. Because this was in response to a question from a shareholder. And I'll read from the article here from Bounding into Comics. Iger said, first of all, I think the case that we filed last month, that would be when they sued DeSantis, made our position and the facts very clear. It only made clear their truth as they see it. And that's really that this is about one thing and one thing only, and that's retaliating against us, Disney, for taking a position about pending legislation. And we believe that in us taking that position, we are merely exercising our right to free speech. And yeah, they may believe that, but really that is not applicable in the case of Reedy Creek with the special district. So that's simply wrong application of the law. And then he carries on. Also, this is not about special privileges or a level playing field, or Disney in any way using its leverage around the state of Florida. But since there's been a lot said about special districts and arrangements, just moved on me here because of commercials on the page, so thank you. I love it when that happens.
I know, that's great.
Yeah. Anyway, and also we're not the only company operating a special district, he stated. Yeah, no, it's true. They're not the only one, but they're the only one with that privilege. And then he goes and he lists a bunch of others, which again doesn't apply. And then he continues, there's also a false narrative that we've been fighting to protect tax breaks as part of this, Iger asserted. But in fact, we're the largest taxpayer in Central Florida, paying over $1.1 billion in state and local taxes last year alone. And we pay more taxes, specifically more real estate taxes, as a result of that special district. Now, that's a claim I'm not sure I believe, but he carries on, and we all know there was no concerted effort to do anything to dismantle what was once called Reedy Creek Special District until we spoke out on the legislation, he opined. So this is plainly a matter of retaliation, while the rest of Florida special districts continue operating basically as they were. But again, he's ignoring the fact that the rest of the districts were never like this one. What this legislation does is it brings this one up to speed with all the others. So, yeah, the big point here to me is that Iger doesn't appear to be applying the correct laws in this situation.
It's such a funny situation because DeSantis, I'm sure I don't know the man. I don't know of any politician at that level that has not made what would you call it, deals with powerful individuals that benefit the powerful individuals. I mean, could you imagine DeSantis, not not playing ball with some of his bigger constituents, but here he can go after Disney and look completely squeaky clean. Disney has handed him this PR plus that lets DeSantis go, look,
more than that. I would say that Iger has provoked this.
Well,
because I maintained ever since this whole thing started, because we now know, we've learned this after the fact, that there was a backdoor channel between DeSantis' office and Chapek's office.
Yeah.
So I stand by my initial assertion that if Chapek had been allowed to continue in his position, if he had been able to purge and change Disney the way that he wanted, there would have been some kind of deal made between Chapek and DeSantis, which would allow both of them to save face and which would have been mutually beneficial for the state of Florida and for the state of state of Disney. It's practically a state within a state. But then Iger came back, and Iger, he's lauded as this incredible politician and diplomat and what have you, but for some reason he never appeared that way with DeSantis. Here he appears to have been knives out from day one, and I did an editorial on it because shortly after he came back, he made a full frontal assault at DeSantis in the trades, humiliating him. And I think that the response to that was game on, motherfucker. At that moment, you had egos involved. Then it was no longer about diplomacy. I do believe that right now there is very much a battle of egos between DeSantis and Iger, but the one who provoked that was Iger, because he's always been the aggressive party here. Every single statement that's been made against Florida and DeSantis coming from Disney after Iger came back has been an extremely aggressive one.
I mean, it's basically like, like if you were to sit down, like if you're in a relationship and you were to sit down with your significant other and you had to sit there and listen to them go on and on and on for 10 minutes about all the things they don't like about you and things that you want you to change, right? And then you just start off by saying, well, I understand that. First of all, we have this problem. I have this problem with you. You get one thing out of your mouth and they freak the fuck out. And they're like, we can't do this. We can't work like this. And it's like, well, hold up, time out here. And that's where I see DeSantis in this move, right? Because you're exactly right, Andre. It's like, it was completely unprovoked. Out of nowhere, Disney decides they're going to attack Florida and DeSantis, right? And it's not just on a state level either, which he is, but they took this to the national stage, right? And in that, basically, so DeSantis, he was put in a position where what is he supposed to do? Just kind of fold and buckle? Or what? Because at this point, all he's doing is just saying, yeah, it's a little fucking gangster, but so what? Sometimes you got to play a little gangster because that's all Disney and all these fuckers have done. It's like you like your life. Well, it would be a shame if something were to happen to it, if you were to get canceled for your wrongthink, right? So it's kind of the same thing here where DeSantis just played the same ball that they've been playing all these years. It's like, well, you want to get involved in politics? Oh, you've got this little special district here that you're related to. Boy, it'd be a fucking shame if something happened to that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Indeed. And they called his fucking bluff.
Yep.
Honestly, I don't have one way. I don't care about DeSantis one way or the other. But I got to give him credit for having the balls as a politician to actually follow through with a threat on something or a promise. Because how often does that happen with a politician?
Well, when their ego is under attack and they are in a position where they can't look weak, because this is also what I said right away, that, oh shit, Iger just made the mistake of a lifetime because he made DeSantis look weak, and DeSantis can't afford to look weak now. So now DeSantis has to look strong. So that means there's not going to be any kind of mutually beneficial solution here, because Iger has made it appear that everything that is mutually beneficial is going to look like a win for Disney. Iger can't DeSantis can't have that now. He needs a win for himself.
But now I understand more. I mean, I know he was kind of fucking with him at first, but I understand more now of what he's saying with the whole, well, we'll put a prison here, we'll do this, we'll do that. He's basically saying, go for it, move out, leave. We'll see what happens. I've got plenty of other people who are waiting to move in.
Universal.
Not just Universal, but I'm sure other, like that's where I think he was making, the points with like the prisons and all this other shit. It's like that land could be used for a lot of other things and generate just as much or more revenue for the state than Disney is right now. They're basically getting a free fucking ride, is what he's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, they're still paying in, but they're not paying in the amount of money that any of the other Universal or anybody else has to. They get all this special treatment. They got their own special district, just like I brought up a couple of weeks back. Like with Action Park, we heard about all the accidents with that. Why don't we ever hear about any accidents coming out of Disney? The reason is because of Reedy Creek. They keep all that shit under wraps in their own little bubble.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
But believe you me, there's
at all.
plenty of horror stories to be had and shit that's happened at Disney World. But anyway, no, I find this hilarious. I think that Bob is kind of freaking out a little bit. Otherwise, why would they be resorting to such threats? I mean,
but the problem that he doesn't seem to get is that the tougher face that he puts on, the more he digs himself and Disney into a hole right here.
Well, what's the famous saying, Andre? Never stop your enemy from making a mistake.
Is he hoping for a Democratic governor to take over?
He could be waiting forever.
I'm just putting that out there.
No, I know what you're saying, but like, yeah, no, I don't think they've got time for that.
I do believe that Disney are no doubt like hoping to outweight DeSantis, but they may be waiting for a while if they think there's going to come a Democrat that's going to come and take over the state of Florida anytime soon.
I mean, there's a lot of people who seem to believe that this is going to be such a sure thing for Disney and a slam dunk. If that's the case, then why is Bob even making these threats and claims? If that was the case, and I think you're right, he's ignorant to a point, Andre, because I trust Andrew's reporting on this 110%. Like he absolutely knows what the fuck he's talking about. And clearly Bob doesn't. And I think you're right. All the expensive ass California and New York lawyers are telling him one thing because they don't understand this shit at the end of the day. I really think that's the case. And he may know that I do think that he knows a little bit that this is not going to go the way he wants, or he wouldn't be out saying things like that. And he wouldn't be constantly trying to paint themselves as some victim in this whole situation, because he had the perfect scapegoat, right? And he hasn't used it yet. And that was, well, this was all under Bob Chapek's regime, and I would like to do whatever I can to work this out amicably for both parties. You know, that should have been the approach he would have taken from the start.
I got the sense that Chapek almost had the apology working and the deal in his pocket before he got fired.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. With Chapek, this wouldn't have been an issue. Chapek would have been able to resolve this thing.
They were already working on it. Exactly.
In a way that would have given both of them a win. At this point, Bob Iger, in his second reign, is the worst thing ever to happen to Disney. I stand by that.
I think it's hilarious that they're that ignorant. Like, I mean, somebody brought it up in the chat that basically
worse than ignorance, it's ego.
Well, DeSantis is basically their landlord. Somebody said that in the chat. I'm sorry, I was going to credit you, but it went past already. But it's true in a way. I mean, you have certain rights, but at the end of the day, why would you want to piss him off?
No, there makes no sense.
It doesn't. It's like, okay, fine. Yeah, you're just playing hardball in the press with this guy. What do you think this is?
Not just that, but a lot of conservatives in the United States admire Ron DeSantis, and a lot of conservatives come to Disney World to entertain their children. And,
of course.
And I think there's a Bud Light effect with pissing off a conservative hero.
Well, and not to dredge up shit from the beginning of the show, but even what's his cock from CNN had to come out, and I disagreed with most of what he said. But he was one of the first ones to finally point out the obvious, is that nobody else other than us have been pointing out for a long time. 50% of this country does not agree with this shit. At least. And you're right. You're 100% right, Paul. Bob is not even taking into consideration about how he's pissing off at least half of his fan base for Disney.
Yeah, I think there's a very clear Bud Light effect that he's ignoring.
Absolutely.
And I do believe that The Little Mermaid is going to be paying for that at the box office.
I hope you guys are right. I really do, because they need that failure on our part, right? They need it to be successful. But if we want to make a big, huge statement in this cultural battle, the Little Mermaid has to fall flat on its face. It has to flop harder than Flounder.
I'm not wishing for its demise. I just want to
I
make that
normally
official.
wouldn't, Paul, but yes, let's keep making fish metaphors. At the end of the day, it's no skin off my back. You're right, 100%. It don't matter. It's not made for me. Well, it technically is, but it isn't made for me. Like I did point out.
You just have to believe in cod.
Yeah, exactly. If you believe in cod, then anything is possible.
That's right. Any fish related story, you have to believe in cod.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, like it was my last Disney movie as a kid, so in that sense, it's technically made for me. But in a sense of like the rest of it, it's like, no, I know it's made for the, modern 6-year-old girls that are, wanting to sing the songs and dress up like Ariel and whatnot. Like, I get that. And in that respect, I don't think they're going to have a problem getting those people on board. Like, that's what I'm concerned with. That's where I think the movie's going to do okay, but they better hope the same things.
You know what, to me as a creative person, it's still such a tragedy. Disney bought Pixar because back then their own stuff was not cutting it. Pixar was eating Disney's lunch back then, and so their solution was to buy Pixar. I just think of the joy that, like, my daughter's very first film in the theater was Toy Story 1. My son's very first movie in the theater was A Bug's Life. I mean, those movies were great, and we have the figurines, and I'm trying to think of what other Disney equivalent other than Frozen that we've gotten that brought that kind of joy to.
The closest thing was that Frog one, The Princess and the Frog, and even and Tangled.
Oh, Tangled was good.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, Tangled was really, really good.
And
but I think Lasseter was here by the time Tangled was.
I can't remember. He was there, but I don't know. Did he have anything to do with Tangled?
I don't know.
I don't recall specifically, but basically, it's Frozen and it's Moana. They are like the two
Moana,
big ones.
yeah, that was good.
Well, as Willie points out here, thank you, Willie the Monkey King.
Moana was really good.
Disney had original IPs like Zootopia and Moana. Yeah, those are the last two bigger ones they've had otherwise. But also Mickey Mouse has had modern cartoon series with the rest of the classic characters. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, he has, but again, they could have done something different, and they could have broadened the appeal of that quite considerably.
But what are they doing? We're getting a Zootopia 2, and they're already doing a live-action remake of Moana, a movie that's barely 10 years old. Is it even 10 years old? I don't think it is.
No, it's not. It's less than that. But again, it's because they can get the original cast. So that's a pitch that actually probably is going to work really well. So that's
now that would make more sense to me as like a live performance thing on Disney Plus than it would as a remake to me.
Yeah, but again,
yes.
Kids today are nostalgic for that movie because they.
I understand that one. I have. Yeah. Very little to say about whatever, but no, they're struggling. The park side of things, though, what have they really had? They're just talking about charging more and things like that in that respect, because that's the only part they have that's making any money is the parks. But at the end of the day, without Florida as a major park, if they have to move, that's going to cost them more money than they can really afford. Let's be real. And I understand not physically moving the park, but like if they were to build a new park in another place, it just...
I don't know that they've threatened with that.
Well, that's kind of what the one thing said here. Let me bring up the quote. Bob Iger to Ron DeSantis. Does Florida want our jobs and taxes or not?
That'll make friends.
Yeah.
Again, very diplomatic there. So diplomatic from Chief Diplomat Bob Iger.
He said, Florida is acting unfairly to the company and asked, does the state want us to invest more, employ more people, and pay more taxes or not? So, yeah, you're kind of basically right, Andre. But, yeah. So, we'll see. but their original plan was to invest $17 billion over the next 10 years, which the state should want us to do. We operate responsibly. We pay our fair share of taxes. We employ thousands of people there. Do you, though? Do you, though? That's what I think Ron is asking with the whole Reedy Creek district business. So yeah, let's move past this now. There's a few super chats about this. Let's jump to those real quick before we move on to the others. Let's see here. Eclipse Warlord points out that his Netflix subscription comes from his T-Mobile service. So does T-Mobile have Disney Plus and Netflix? Is that what you guys are saying?
I did. Yeah. So he's got a free 1 year subscription or something with Netflix. So I think Netflix has been doing it, but certainly not to the degree that Disney has.
No, they used to back in the day with like DirecTV and a few other things, but not anymore. JRG Project says, I'm surprised Comcast hasn't bought out Disney for complete control over Hulu. They don't want to. They want Disney to buy them out. Their success has even been praised by Iger. For Disney to make no sense, this is 21st century all over again. I don't think they have a choice in this matter, right, Andre?
I don't think so, no.
Because I think the deal is they have controlling interest, and then by this date or whatever, Universal had the right to opt out or whatever, and Disney has to buy them out, I guess, is the whole deal, or find somebody else.
They do have to buy them out, and they have to buy them out at a very fair price. So I'm sure that Comcast wants Disney to do it, just as you said. They want this. They want to squeeze every last dollar out of them. And the moment that Disney has them so that they can roll Hulu completely into Disney Plus, that's just one less streaming service to contend with, and I don't think it's going to help Disney Plus anything, because it's not going to be like any more content than you have right now. As it is around the world, Hulu is mostly Star around the world.
Well, that's pretty much what it sounds like they're going to do.
Disney Plus.
It sounds like that's what they're going to do here, Andre.
So basically, again, they'd be buying out Universal only to shut Hulu down. Basically,
the upshot is they continue to have, some of the options that Hulu has, but that'll depend on how it works after that. Because the reason Hulu is as big as it is, because they do have some original material, like The Handmaid's Tale and a few other things that are popular. Don't get me wrong, but their claim to fame was the fact that they had the day after it would drop television for like all the major networks. So like whatever was on last night on television would be on Hulu the next day on streaming. If that makes sense. So that's why a lot of people signed up for Hulu. And it's one of the more cheaper ones here because they've always had an ad-based model. So yeah, we'll see how that works out when they put them together. But Sailor Mercury reminds us that John Lasseter was fired over hugs. This is true. Brightest Day sends a super chat to say that Herbie hits the wall. It's theaters this Christmas. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see a new Herbie movie. Let's see here. We got Infinity Flare, who says the Disney animated Renaissance classics all had TV spin-off series and sequels made that expanded the characters. The remakes don't have anything. Well, and even those were poor quality in most cases, sadly.
Disney used to have this unusual British contingent also. It's funny. I mean, my memories of Disney always had like Bedknobs and Broomsticks and Terry Thomas in everything.
What's funny about that, Paul, is most of the movies and things you brought up were in the dark era of Disney after Disney died and they were struggling to get a foothold again.
Yeah, I mean, they weren't. I don't think they were massively successful, but I think we recall those movies fondly.
Yeah, well, the reason is because a lot of those movies were the first ones Disney released to VHS and put on television, so they were ones that we all saw, like the Apple Dumpling Gang, Pete's Dragon. All that stuff out of the 70s era, like Bedknobs and Broomsticks, I think is more later 60s, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, like I think Disney was still alive for that, because that's more in the Mary Poppins vein.
Yeah.
Yeah. But once you get past that into the 70s, like they struggled for years to try.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But they had a few hits in there, like the few of the Kurt Russell films and such. But yeah, you're not wrong, Infinity Flare. And then Bucky Cat wanted us to talk a little bit about the plan to buy. I see how you put the plan in parentheses there, to buy out Hulu shares from Comcast. Iger seemed to indicate this was on the table. Yeah, well, we did just chat about it a little bit. Sorry I didn't get to your super chat first, but hopefully you were listening and you heard all that, because that's pretty much the situation from my understanding.
Yeah, that's insofar as we know, that's how it is.
Yeah, sounds like it's contractual and they're stuck with it. And speaking of Kurt Russell, Pajori says they need to do something with the computer that wore tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Johnson or Kurt Russell's character could get an upgrade. There you go.
There you go.
But you were just bitching they don't need to do remakes.
No, but that one's a natural for it.
Yeah. Well, you like it just because of the tech.
It's computers. I can see that.
Yeah. No, that's a plausibility. Tennille says I'm terming with this as weapons grade Schadenfreude. Well, we've had worse Fridays, so yeah, yay for us. By God, Disney has earned every bit of this failure. That's what I'm saying too. You get where I'm coming from, Tennille.
Yeah.
This is...
The sad thing though is that Disney is actually a company with great traditions and is vital for modern culture and mythology, and it's this modern administration, these wokies that all hail the ESG and everything like that, is the Bob Igers of the company and his ilk, the Kathleen Kennedys, the activists. They are the ones destroying a company with 100-year legacy that is an integral part of modern culture and mythology. So I'm very sad to see like Disney suffer, but I do hope that everyone will see the mismanagement of these people, that they eventually will be replaced, and then that maybe Disney can return to form. But I don't think there can be a return to form as long as Iger is there, unless he has planned an unbelievable purge and getting rid of all of the people that he worked with that helped him destroy the company. So we'll see.
And then ActionCom says, can you imagine abandoned Disney World? The Urbex videos would be stellar. Yeah. Well, it'd be a homeless haven. No, I think what Andre was saying, and the point being is they would never really move out of Florida. They just wouldn't expand anymore, basically.
Yeah. They'll just find a way that's just like, okay, those 15 billion, we're going to spend that on something else right now. But no. They're not moving out to Florida. Again, for something like that, you wait out DeSantis. Because even if there might not be a Democratic ruler for some time, he's only going to be there for a very limited time longer. So in such a situation where a complete headstill, they just pay their bills, pay their dues, wait him out, and then try over with a change of people.
So we might get Walt Disney World Wisconsin Dells. Cool.
That'd be something.
No, that's the thing I'm thinking is funny about this. Good luck finding a state that's not red, that doesn't have winter to deal with, right? Like that's my thoughts right now. But anyway, ActionCom, we'll have to see if that actually happens, but I doubt it. Tipping Barn says, I always thought the hair spawn culture. Sorry I didn't see this when Culture was here, Tipping Barn. But it's a weave, just so you know. What's your first thought? Says, just like that fantastic dragon, Disney is going up in flames, and they have, I think he means the Fantasia dragon. Disney is going up in flames and they have no one to blame but themselves.
Yeah. No, he means like this animatronic dragon.
Yeah, it was from Fantasia. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Yeah. It probably just corrected him. The auto corrected, I bet.
Yeah.
The Fantasia dragon ran up in flames. Mickey went running. Did you see the video? He's like,
I did see the video.
Yeah, crap.
Yeah, I was like thinking, oh man, how sad. I mean, that's yeah. But that's something for the ages, and that's quite the show to be at. But still, I find no joy in it. Maybe at some level, but
oh yeah. And then Willie the Monkey King has a member chat as well. Thank you for that. He says, how much does Disney stock have to drop before they drop D+? Agree with Chato on creating new stuff. Happy Mother's Day, all. Yes, well, thank you, Willie. Okay, we kind of actually touched on this the other day because that financial analyst was telling Paramount, stop streaming. Like, it's costing you too much money. The problem with these guys is the streaming services have probably been the biggest loss leader in Hollywood history.
Yeah.
And they can't stop now. They're already on that track. The train's left the station. It's too late. They're invested in this. It's kind of like, you've went and traded your favorite car in at the dealership and you realize you got a turkey, but there's nothing you can do now. You're stuck with that bitch.
And I do have to say that some of us have a record going back years asking what the hell are they doing? Where's the business case? Because they have a perfect business case with not with streaming, but with physical media, which is profitable, which is collectible, is great all around. Why the hell are they in such a hurry to get rid of that?
They already had
engage
Netflix
in a new format war over streaming where there can be only one winner, and even then there's barely any profit in it.
No, we've been saying it for years. In fact, do check out that Bill Hunt discussion we had years ago here on the channel. In fact, he's going to be on here After Dark on next Wednesday to discuss a few things. But yeah, we talked about how basically this was the dumbest idea in the history of ideas for Hollywood, because having Netflix and Hulu as the main hubs for this stuff in the US and probably worldwide and still supporting physical media made sense. I mean, now they've gone and destroyed the physical media market, and it's their own fault.
Oh, yeah.
They are the ones that have made it nearly impossible for anybody to buy anything anymore unless you order it online. Good luck finding a DVD of a new movie anywhere half the time. Target, Walmart, Best Buy have all shrunk their sections down to
gone.
Nothing.
They're gone. We don't hear in Canada they're gone.
That's what I've heard too, is like in some places they don't even have one. Like mine, I'm lucky to have they have like a $5 bin, and then there's like an L section of movies.
And you're right. If these companies have any brains, they shut everything down. They sell everything to Netflix. Maybe suggest to Netflix not make so much new stuff. If you know what we're talking about.
If you know what's good for you.
If you know what's good for you, maybe we suggest that you don't make so much new things. And also bring back DVD sales to Best Buy, so we can walk in and actually get. I mean, the first place to after the movie theaters is physical media. Then send it. Then license it off to Netflix.
Well, and that's what we've said. I'm not a fan of any kind of monopoly whatsoever, but Andre's right. Netflix wasn't so much you couldn't look at it that way. It was more or less a central hub. They were putting out so much money back into the industry that was the whole reason for the industry going, we want one of those, without thinking about the implications.
But it's greed and fear and being left behind with this new technology thing without really realizing that they're not going to make any money on it. We got to get it. The president said that, and the president knows sweet dick all about technology, but he told us that we got to have our own Netflix. Yeah, but we're not going to make any money on it. Yeah, but he told us we need to get our own Netflix.
Yeah.
But you can see it. You can kind of see the weird logic in it, but they didn't think it through.
I mean, it's basically like if you saw a burger stand doing very well and you and 5 other guys decided to open burger stands right around the same place. I mean, how well would it be for business for any of you?
Yeah, nothing. It's terrible.
Exactly.
Open up a car wash
or a taco stand or something else. Yeah.
Or like while you're having the burger, your car's being washed.
Yeah, exactly. Something that complements it at least.
Yeah, counter programming. It's one of the reasons why up here, at least, the Walmarts are not as big as the ones down in the United States. So when a Walmart becomes an anchor to a store, a whole shit ton of stores just open up around the Walmart.
They actually used to be that way in the US, but not so much anymore. What you used to have was Because actually, when I worked at Movie Gallery, the land that we were in, we paid rent to Walmart. Because what they would do is they would have a Walmart would buy up the land, they would open a Walmart, like you said, and then they would build this little mini mall right next to it. And in the said mini mall, you'd have everything from like a Papa John's to a U.S.
Yeah.
Cellular store to a movie gallery at that time. You know,
Creates an ecosystem.
GameStop was always one of them usually.
Yeah, I always we went to Ellicottville, New York frequently for skiing, and one of the saddest things is the downtown's completely emptied, and then you've got this horrific, gigantic Walmart that is also really sad.
Yeah. Well, and they killed a lot of these towns. In fact, the town that I live in now is exactly that, where they build one of their Walmarts right within city limits, and they get all these tax deals.
Right.
And as soon as those tax deals come up, and this is kind of what Disney's trying to pull in a weird way, so it does kind of relate, they uproot and buy land outside of town and build a super center.
Oh.
So then they don't have to pay the taxes on the town. So then the town sacrificed all these years of taxes on this shit. And then now they got an abandoned building and a business outside of town, or they'll move to a town over. This is what they've been doing for like the last few years. It's an older documentary now, but I'm sure it still holds true. It's called The High Cost of Low Prices. If you have not seen it, check it out. And it talks about all the things that Walmart's guilty of. In fact, when they get their security systems in at a new Walmart, when they build them, they're not even called security systems. They're called anti-union devices. I shit you not. Because they're more worried about their employees forming a union than they are about getting shit stolen from them.
Well, they did shut down. We're changing topics here, but Walmart,
no, it's kind of semi-related.
Walmart did shut down a Quebec store that unionized.
I'm not surprised. They hate that. Yeah. But anyway, you're all right. We did kind of veer off topic a little bit here. But at the same time, it's the same kind of thing. It's big business trying to swing their dick around. And in this case, I think that the Disney might have met their match with Florida. So we'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, as far as like they'll never drop Disney Plus, Willie. At this point, they can't. They've got too much invested in it. The only way I could see that happening is if somebody were to buy out Disney altogether,
and if Iger walks, because then Iger needs to walk, and then a new CEO can come in and say, okay, now it's time to end this money drain. It was an interesting experiment, but it failed, and now we need to move on. That would be the end of Bob Iger and his legacy forever. Disney Plus is his legacy, perhaps more than anything else. And it has to work, because if it doesn't, he will never be remembered as Daddy Iger ever again.
Actually, I don't think it'll go away permanently, Andre. What I think will happen, and this is what they should have done from the very, very, very start with Disney Plus, Disney Plus will basically turn into the Disney Channel 2.0. Because that's what they should have done in the first place. It should have never been this thing that was the end all be all of Disney. It should have just been that. It should have been just Disney, the Disney Channel Plus. Because they had the market cornered on that shit. And I don't think it would have been seen as this failure then. It would have probably been considered successful. And it really would have been mostly the same things they are now, because that's really what the Disney Channel was. They just, it was later down the road. So yeah, so sure, you don't get to see the brand new movies right away like they do now, but you just got to see them later down the road like you did on the Disney Channel. So it makes no sense. Jan J says, if Disney wanted a young adult cartoon, then Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck is a good one to get animated. Well, Andre, I think, would agree with
absolutely. That's what I mean. Because if you just go between, let's just go back to DuckTales. DuckTales was a huge hit, right? That was partially based on the stories of Carl Barks. All you have to do is basically do a new version of that, not like the DuckTales reboot that they already did, but do some kind of Carl Barks, Don Rosa-like thing. And if they had done a serious animated Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, done that theatrical, given it kind of like the Super Mario treatment, like put that in theaters, that would have rocked the world. And it would have been nominated for Oscars and everything. That story, Life and Times of Scrooge McDuck, a story which right now is being censored because it's problematic to modern audiences. So if you want to read it, make sure you find an older copy of it. That story is one of the greatest comics ever written, period. Any
Wow.
category. I cannot recommend it highly enough. Paul, if you want to read it, I'll hook you up with it. You'll be amazed.
I'd love to read it. Was it a Key comic? Back in the day, Disney comics were on Key.
No. It was actually made. Made for Egmont, and then licensed back to the US. And I don't remember which company, because this was made in the late 80s, early 90s, not by Karl Barks, but by his successor Don Rosa, who honestly was better than Barks.
Yeah, you have a lot of good things to say about him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We actually did a video years and years ago. It was one of the first ones I ever edited, I think.
Yeah.
But we have Dash Attack has been a member for 13 months. It says, I think companies are afraid that if they don't virtue signal, then they will be targeted by governments. That's why even Japanese game companies do it. Yeah, this is about the SG thing, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is very true, Dash Attack. And Cryam says, after the Disney call, my only question is in Rockapella, where in the world is Bob Chapek? If he's healthy, he must be laughing his butt off.
Actually, I think he would be frustrated because he's going to see that all of the issues that are with Disney right now, if they would have worked with him, he could have solved it, especially the Florida situation.
I agree with Andre, but I also think that on his exit, they just kind of told him what the hell was going on. I don't think he was so much more or less the problem of that they knew that Bob Iger was the guy who could say, trust me, everything is going to be okay, while cutting 7,000 jobs.
But don't also forget that Chapek has been with Disney for a long time, and there's going to be some personal ennui just in terms of the fact that he was on the right track and he wanted to help Disney and he wasn't the flashy guy. But I think, you can't be that cold about it. He's going to feel badly that he just, couldn't finish what he was trying to do.
Yeah, that's what I mean. He's not going to be laughing. It's probably going to nag him for the rest of his life because he is going to know that this is something he could have fixed probably.
But he wasn't allowed
the proper support, but he wasn't allowed to. And so it's going to be incredibly frustrating. Kind of like I get frustrated when I see what's going on with streaming because it was so obvious to me. And if you don't believe me, go check out our videos from frickin' 2018. It was obvious to me that this ain't gonna work. What the hell are they doing? How do they not see this? But they were all taken by some collective madness, and we're seeing the result of that right now. And of course, he's going to see it the same way, only even more frustrating because he was actually in a position where he could do something.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, again, it's the joke where I'm not making anything on this. I'm going to increase volume.
Your pal Russ says, I work for a state legislator. Iger is politically clueless to have pissing match with a governor and legislature of the same party. That's what I was saying. That's exactly my point. It's like, who the fuck do you think you're fucking with?
It's so dumb.
I mean, I'm not saying that Iger should just kiss DeSantis' ass, but at the same time, there's a diplomatic way of handling this.
You
ain't
do
doing it.
You do it in the back channels.
Exactly. Like, what the fuck? This is
like Chapek was going to do.
Yeah.
Like I'm in shock at how Iger is mismanaging this because this is on Iger. Iger is the one who's escalating here. He's the one that makes it impossible.
That's what I was saying.
For DeSantis to come to the table here. Yeah, and you are of course 100% accurate. This is on Iger. Iger right now is destroying Disney.
I thought for sure the whole idea would be, okay, we've got it from here. Iger just picks up the baton because at that point, Chapek had lost, the confidence of the company, and then he lost the confidence of everybody else when he buckled. Right, so Chapek was in a no-win position. I'm not saying I feel bad for Chapek, and I'm not even so sure that Chapek feels bad so much because I mean, at the end of the day, he got his paycheck. I'm sure he has some investment in, how things went after that. But at this point, like I honestly feel like he was just lucky to get away with what he did, the money and the amount of money he did, and they didn't really. I mean, he had one of the. I would say he had a harsh firing, but it was not the worst firing I've seen in the history of these.
Well,
kind
I
of
was
things.
one of them.
It was one of them.
It's up there.
It was one of them. It is up there, but we haven't seen him speak out since. He hasn't, as far as we know, started working anywhere else. So he must have. I think he's just maxing and relaxing. And sadly,
I don't think we're going to see him work anywhere.
That's what I'm saying. I think he's just kind of glad he got off the sinking ship before it sunk. I'm sure he'll feel bad at the end of the day about certain things. And I think you guys are right that, yeah, I'm sure he's got the I told you so kind of fucking thing going on in the back of his mind right now. But I don't know if he's really that concerned with it at the end of the day because he did all he could.
He did what he could, and they didn't listen. And on their own.
That's what I'm saying. So I don't know how frustrated he can be over that. Is more of a, well, like I told you so kind of a thing. Well, but yeah. Because at the end of the day, I mean, if Disney buckles, now it's nothing under his, it's no skin off his back, basically.
No, but his legacy will forever be tainted.
Well, it already is. So what the fuck's the difference?
Yeah, no, what happens to Disney now anymore? But still, like the whole thing is going to have left a sour.
I mean, if Iger even takes it lower than he did, then that's just the only thing is he can go ha ha ha, but who's that going to impress other than himself? Yeah. But anyway, moving on. Tennille says, not good to idea to engage in a power play with someone that has 90% of the power, establishment and delusion notwithstanding. What leverage does Iger believe he has? Exactly. I'm not sure Twitter clout will cut it. No, it won't. Not in DeSantis's case. Not in the least.
Nope.
So, like, this is a no-win scenario for Iger. I don't understand his play here. So anyhow, that's we've already discussed that quite a bit though. And then Bell's Nickel, there we go. Bell's Nickel says, I wish they'd bring back The Wonderful World of Disney. I grew up with that show on Sunday night and Bonanza. Sorry if I'm geezing. No, not at all. But would you really want to sit there and listen to Bob Iger? Because that was the whole gimmick of that show. Is originally started under Disney, and then Eisner thought he fancied himself Disney Jr. And, I mean, to me, he was the Disney brand growing up. I know who Michael Eisner is because of The Wonderful World of Disney and stuff like that. At least, I mean, I did when I was younger anyway, is what I mean. But yeah. No, I mean, they could have done stuff like that with Disney Plus. I don't know why they didn't. And then Tennille says, yeah, and never interrupt your enemy when he's making a mistake. Exactly. Napoleon said that. The only caveat is that he said that the night before the Battle of Waterloo, but it's definitely still valid. Yeah, there was just a miscalculation there. We won't get into all the history there, but something we will talk about history real quick. Andre, you saw Cleopatra.
I did see Cleopatra. Not the whole thing. But I've seen the very first.
I saw you tweeting about it, which is something you don't normally do is tweet.
I don't normally know. Let's bring that up and we can go through it.
Well, let me see if I can find your tweet.
Yeah. I sent it to you.
Oh, you did? Where?
Let's in your messenger, I believe.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Yeah. Because I already did a video on it. I'm planning a follow-up video, and for that I need to have seen at least some of it. Now, Cleopatra is 4 episodes. Of those 4 episodes, I have seen 1. And as I was watching it, I decided, I kind of suck at Twitter. But let's try to get into this a little bit. So I live tweeted it as I watched it, and I took like pictures of the screen and everything to underline my points. And my first tweet then was watching Cleopatra on Netflix. 4 minutes into the first episode, this is already among the worst pseudoscientific drivel and ideopolitical propaganda I have seen in my life. Insidious rewrite of history claiming to be a documentary, yet this is clearly fiction. And I did say 4 minutes in. But honestly, the problem started earlier than that. They actually started right away in the opening narration, which is by Will Smith's wife. So let's keep our names out, or her name out of our mouths. Let's see, come and slap us. But anyway, it begins with basically saying there once was a woman who ruled, who bowed down to no man. And I was like, oh my God, the hell are you talking about? She was basically portraying Cleopatra as this amazing girl boss warrior queen. You know, something which never ever happened. Just go up to the next one. And go for a little bit further down, because we'll go through them in order there, because that's the whole thing. So go back up to the top again.
I'd rather look at the kitties.
Okay. Well, I don't blame you. So would I. I would also rather look at kitties.
Where do you want me to go here?
Just go back up to the top again. We'll go through.
Okay, so where am I looking?
Up to the top. This is at the bottom of the thread.
Well, that's where I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then you remember from the trailer where you had like this expert who was like talking about, I imagine that Cleopatra looked just like me and had my complexion and my hair and everything like that. Yeah. He was also there talking about, because you had like this story kind of like begun with her in the library of Alexandria, talking about how amazingly well-read she was and well-educated. This is all true. But then he went into, I imagine that she was sitting there in the library and she was reading about earlier queens of Egypt, being inspired about what an unbelievable girl boss queen she was going to be and how she would bow to no man. They literally say this. This is basically, he's like projecting into the series that she always dreamt that she was going to be this amazing warrior queen, which again she never was. Let's go down to the next tweet here, Tom, since you control it. And then of course talking about changing the world and everything, because her father is dying. And when he dies, he's complaining about that he's worried about the people around him. He don't trust them. They might change what he has done. And she's like, don't worry, Daddy, I'll protect your legacy. You can trust me. And then the moment he croaks, she's like, I'm going to change everything now. Now we're going to change how we do things. And then, of course, they give some more background about Egypt. And then they start talking about the populace of Egypt. And they show them on screen. This is where I had to take the first picture to prove it. Because they basically say that there's 3 main ethnic groups in Egypt at this time. There's the Greeks, there's the Jews, and wait for it, there is the native Egyptians, the native population to Egypt. And all of them are black. So the persons you see on screen here, they are the representatives of the native population of Egypt. And just remember, Egypt is in North Africa, not sub-Saharan Africa. So this right here is a rather insidious rewrite of history that no one actually believes. And I do have it on good record that the consultants that Netflix worked with for this series are exactly as I speculated in my video. There's like a handful of people that were activists first, and that then got their degrees and became certified historians and archaeologists and Egyptologists afterwards, but they were activists first. And they're looked down upon in the community because they spread this bullshit theories that no one else believes because there's no reason to believe them. They are the ones who are consulting on this series. They found like all 3 of them, all 3 of these like odd ones out are the ones consulting, and they are the ones maintaining, Egyptians were probably black. And then they go on and on and on about the racial diversity of Egyptians and how the native populace of Egypt, you had like some were lighter, some were darker, some looked like they would have been from Sudan and might as well have been from Sudan, but it was all good and well. That's how it was, although it plainly wasn't. So again, this is just like unbelievable rewrites of history, and they don't even believe it themselves. You can like tell that they're like trying to maintain a narrative. And then, of course, this being made in the modern era, you have scenes of Cleopatra fighting and, of course, besting much bigger and well-trained soldiers, because why not? And everyone on staff in Egypt is, of course, black, and some look North African, except one. There is one person working for the staff there who is white. Now, the reason he's white is because it's part of history that Pompey was killed and he was beheaded. And this was a rather nasty act. So you can't have a black person do something so nasty. So no. There was a white person in Egypt, apparently. One white Egyptian on the court payroll. And that's the guy they sent to do the one nasty deed. So, yeah. Pretty heavy messaging right there. And I finished the first episode. My summaries I cannot recommend. And I stand by what I've said before. The definitive live-action adaptation of the story of Cleopatra is not the Elizabeth Taylor version. Forget about that. That's an old movie that no one under the age of 50 have seen anyway. The definitive adaptation of Cleopatra remains her storyline in HBO's Rome. Go watch that and thank me later. And Tom, if you now scroll down a little bit more, someone helpfully put a picture of her there. That right there from American Werewolf. That would be the single best depiction of Cleopatra in live action to date. And what's funny is when you look at the statues of her and everything, it actually does look like her. Yeah, and puppies and kitties later on. People couldn't deal with the stupidity.
Yeah. No, I'm surprised you will put yourself through it.
Well, I have to do a video about it. I have to be a little bit informed about what I talked about. I mean, I suffered through this for
I
our
watched
audience.
Citadel. Come on.
Yeah.
Nobody asked you to, though, Paul.
But Paul, you are of course into history, archaeology, these things. Based on my description, how excited are you to see a Netflix version of Cleopatra?
None whatsoever. I think there's this weird cult amongst certain well-heeled individuals who want to rewrite history in their for themselves.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In their own image, yeah.
In their own image. And this is just insanity. I don't see how this helps. I think people within that group, there's going to be children in schools who are going to, say, hey, look, I see myself as Cleopatra. And I guess this is my history. And it's not your history.
Oh, it's history that you have appropriated. Cleopatra was Greek.
And history is history. Why not learn history the way to the best of our knowledge happened? One of the things about history is that things change, right? I mean, there's suppositions and then new discoveries are made. Even, more ancient temples are found. And we change our views as to who was there. But the Egyptian history is pretty settled, and
certainly
no
the latter part of it. Because here's like the thing: the Egyptian history, that's a long ass period of time. People have to remember. There's a longer distance in time between Cleopatra and the building of the pyramids than there is between Cleopatra and us. That is how long.
5,000 years ago, the pyramids were built, and Cleopatra is close to biblical.
Exactly, that's what I mean. So, like that period, that one is very settled. Like, if they wanted to do like a black pharaoh, you have earlier dynasties where you actually could make that argument, especially when we go further back and the historical record becomes a little bit more sketchy, because further back in time you go, there are fewer and fewer sources there are when it
Of
comes to
course.
things Egyptology. But in that very latter period, and this is just the end of ancient Egypt, during like the modern kingdoms and stuff, or the new kingdom as this is a part of history that is very well understood and that there's not many mysteries about.
Well,
That I grant you.
and not only the black component of this is potentially, up for discussion. The present day Egyptians are nothing like the ancient Egyptians. There's no DNA connection.
Well, there is between the minority of Coptic Christians.
Yes, I was just going to say, I had a friend, Magdi, who was Coptic, and his mother was the spitting image of the famous head sculpture of Cleopatra. She had this long, lithe neck, and she had this very royal bearing and face. And you looked at her, Magdi's mother, and you go, "Oh my God, she looks like Cleopatra," and she was Coptic. So
because those are the closest living descendants to the ancient Egyptians are the Coptic minority.
That is my understanding.
Yeah.
We have the Weave minority with Culture Casino. How you doing?
Hi. Yeah, I was hoping to avoid the controversy and backlash that's going to destroy Netflix, known as Cleopatra.
I don't know if it's going to destroy him. I have to go.
Oh,
well, before you do, we thought you might be interested in this story, Paul. I'm really sorry to hold you for a few more minutes, but Bounding Into Comics has written a story about this wacko former TV executive weighing in.
Who the hell is this?
I don't know. I thought you would love to roast this guy, though.
Oh man, I'm going to do a video on him. I'm chewing his ass out. My God, what's stupid.
But yes, not only congratulations on your plaque, but it looks like you got a write up in Bounding here on your writer strike take.
Yeah, he will sometimes pull a video and disagree with me, which I'm perfectly happy. I think it's nice to hear that commentary one way or the other.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, good people over at Bounding Into Comics.
Yes, they are. Even when they disagree with me, they're good people.
Yeah, yeah. Not everyone agrees with this guy's takes. I mean, Gridley says Shum says it's not an inception, it's a Chato-ception. And what I was going to say here is that Gridley says that Paul guy is horrible.
Oh my God, yes. Completely agree.
Yeah, and Matthew also points out Paul's going mainstream.
He is. He ain't got time for us lousy bastards no more.
Yeah, Paul MSM Chato. That's what they're going to call me.
MSM Chato. But thank you, Paul, for being here. Let me double check real quick, make sure there wasn't any super chats specifically for you. I don't think there was. I think we kind of got through the majority of those. So yeah, it looks like you're free and clear to go. We thank you again for being here. Check out Paul's channel or CNN Chato.
Yes, I will be having Trump on soon, just to piss people off for no reason.
You're a nasty man, Paul.
Yeah.
Nasty man.
Yeah, and since you do that, just to get back at everyone who'll be pissed off, we'll have Graham Hancock on just to piss you off.
Oh, that would piss me off more than Trump, actually.
Well,
to tell you the truth. Yeah, I mean, if CNN actually turns its brand around and puts equal weighting on left, middle, and right, they'll be the only channel that has ever done that in the longest time. And if that's their plan, that could be very successful. Hold your nose, put everybody on with an opinion.
There you go. Well, thank you for being here, Paul. Do check out Call Me Chato. That's the channel you can find him on. And take care of yourself and have a great weekend, sir.
Yeah, that's right. Weekend. And I'll talk to you guys on Monday, hopefully. Yes. Thank you very much for having me.
And happy Mother's Day to your wife and mother.
I will do that. Bye.
Take
Bye.
care.
Take care.
And then we'll go through these Cleopatra chats here real quick.
And then we'll get into Anheuser-Busch.
And then,
Everyone has been waiting for.
Real they-thems of genius. Your pal Russ says the Greek Ptolemaic, I said that right, I think.
Yeah, Ptolemaic
Dynasty of Egypt also practiced sibling marriage, which makes the chances of Cleopatra being black even smaller. Yes. Yeah, I think I've heard that about the whole
Yeah. They jumped through some hoops there to try to force her into being black.
Yeah. Taryn the Black says, I don't think Jada knows why it's bad to make the Ptolemies black. That proves that actors are dumb. Well, they have to have writers to be smart.
What she actually does is that the way around it is that the Ptolemies, they were Greek, so they were white. But their way around it is that all of Egypt was black. The Egyptians were black. And then they go with Cleopatra's mother. We don't know exactly who she is, so we're going to assume that she was Egyptian, therefore black. And we're also going to assume that Cleopatra's grandmother was also a black Egyptian. So they just make those assumptions based on the fact that every single Egyptian is black according to their worldview.
Then BB Bilal says to the panel, forget the past, kill it if you have to. I believe the mission is to own the past, rewrite it in the image they want, then destroy actual facts. This too. You know, and I'm sure some of these folks think that they're like, and again, to me, this comes off like when a bunch of dudes in college are sitting around smoking a doobie going, man, did you know that Jesus was black, man? Like, you know, like they come up with this grandiose idea they think that they're discovering. It's like, no, people have actually done the research, dumbass. You're not Christopher Columbus. You're not discovering jack shit. Leif Erikson was already there. And so on. So, like, all my favorite sayings. So, yeah, it's redonkulous. But, yeah, another portion of this is just that revisionist history. BB Bilal, exactly. And then Maverick Christian says blackwashing Cleopatra is ironically racist. There are real awesome black queens that could be put in the spotlight, e.g. Candake, conferred to recent Metatron video put out on 5/11/23. Yeah, and you brought up a few yourself, Andre, I believe, in your video.
Yeah, but I brought up like some possible suspects, because here's like the thing. You have some dynasties that there's every reason to think actually were black. And but regardless, the further back in time you go, the less is known. And some of like the earlier dynasties practically don't know anything. There's literally one source, and that one source, they decided, okay, from this point we believe it, and from this point we're just going to decide it's fiction. So yeah, very sketchy the further back we go there.
Indeed. And then a couple more on this subject, and then we'll move on to the final topic of the day. Sean the Movie Man 71 says, Andre, did Netflix's Cleopatra accurately show where Mark Antony experimented on baby raccoons to make a better society and Cleopatra stopped him?
Probably, but I would imagine that's episode 3 or 4. I couldn't make it past episode 1.
Uh-huh. And then that raccoon decided he's going to get out of there someday, and he's going to fly rockets in the sky with his friends.
Exactly.
And his name is going to be Rocket. There you go. Ram Bam 3000 says there were black pharaohs. The Kunshite King Pi, if I said that right, established the 25th dynasty in 747 BC. But that still doesn't make the Egyptians themselves black.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You have like some dynasties that in all likelihood were black, and this would be one. Yep. So all they had to do was go further back in time. But yes, they wanted Cleopatra.
Speaking of going back in time, this is a super chat from way back in time. Back right when we first got started. Action Com, our man with the plan and command who does all the timestamps for you, says with $10, speaking of beer, In olden days, bars would offer a free lunch to its customers, making sure it was salty as hell. But what food do you eat with beer? Wings, sandwiches, or just nuts and crackers? Oh, that's a good question. I think that's kind of become its own cottage industry, I would say. Wouldn't you say, culture? I mean, it's like the pubs and grills. That's kind of the whole heart of America, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and we all get together in one place and share an experience and a story or two, and we do it, with the bar food and the.
But I think he's asking what our favorites are here. So, what would your favorite be when you belly up to the bar?
Well, it depends on the bar. I was getting there, Tom. I'm one that's a bit partial to like the roasted peanuts, salted roasted peanuts, if those are available. I like a good bar pretzel with some real spicy mustard. That's a favorite of mine. I will enjoy the occasional wing, but I'm very specific about those. And then, of course, you can't not have a classic French dip sandwich if one's available. So
you just went totally bougie there, man.
That's me. I drink wine.
You wino. I don't really drink at all, but ActionCom really wants my personal one. You know what, dude? If I do eat at a bar and grill or anything like that, the first thing I got to try, or I try almost any place, is to make sure their cheese curds are worth a shit. Because I'm from Wisconsin and that's my job. But other than that, I love to try pub pizza, especially if they make it themselves. If it's a frozen pizza, I'll pass. But I love to try homemade pizzas and stuff. In fact, there's the closest thing to a bar I actually go to in town here. That's the reason I go there, is because of their bar and grill food and their pizza once in a while. But Andre, what about you? What's your favorite snack when you're bellying up to the bar?
Well, actually, the question was for with food for beer, and for that I'd go to Oktoberfest in München, Germany. That's Munich to you
Get
guys.
real bratwurst.
And have proper Bavarian bratwurst and chicken and pork made Bavarian style with a local microbrewery beer. Beyond that, yes, some peanuts.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'd be yelled at if I didn't bring a bratwurst in Wisconsin. Of course, I think you'd feel very at home here, Andre. I do. I think you'd enjoy it quite a bit. You'd probably adapt quicker than I ever could. You'd be like, "What the fuck, you pussy? This place is great. I'm gonna go ride that cow." It's the closest thing I can find to a steer, because all your deer are too small.
But while we are
we're on the subject of beer. Yes, this was getting us to that topic. So yes, let's talk a little bit about Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, because we recently released a video about Bud Light where I broke down in detail how ESG factored into this. And we do know that the company is really infused with ESG at all levels. There's a 2021 report from the company on how committed they are to ESG. It's like literally, it's like a 120-page PowerPoint presentation called the Environmental, Social, and Governance Report 2021. I'm sure there is one from 2022, but I haven't found that yet. But I have one from 2021, where all of the CEOs and everything speak about their commitment to the costs at all levels. Now, some of this is in terms of environment. That isn't too bad, but much of it is about their basically social aspect of it, and that is basically, if you are working for the company and you are white, or you need a talking to. You need some diversity training here, and you can forget all about promotions and everything. You need to bring in new people for that. New people, that's going to give them ESG points. So yeah, ESG is absolutely part of the company. I do believe that swayed the decision to hire Nedscheid and her ilk in the first place. And of course, with them comes even more ESG brownie points marketing, with which you saw with a notorious spot with Dylan, and everything that happened since. Now, the big news since we dropped this video is that HSBC has now gone out and they have officially downgraded the share from buy to hold. Now, the good news, to the extent of which there is any, is that they have not yet downgraded to sell, although that probably is next, considering that that the boycott, it's not easing up. On the contrary, it appears to be escalating. 1 month still in here. Yeah, cultured. What's your take on this entire situation?
It's funny, but I think we've all kind of been expecting or waiting for the one thing, the inflection point, as you referred to in your video, to happen. The point at which everybody got frustrated with all of the things around them, and whether or not they understood, what's at the core of it, whether it's ESG, the DIE, whatever that is. They saw for themselves that there was a radical cultural engineering process going on, and of course, as you explained why that is, because of the financing aspects of things and the way modern businesses run, and this is a lot of modern business, we were just waiting for this type of event to happen. We saw shades of this before with Gillette, right, with the razor campaign that they put out there. We're probably going to see it with Levi's and their gender-neutral clothing campaign that's going on right now. But it's the cheap 99-cent things that always seem to start these backlashes, an awakening, whatever you want to call it. So when you go messing with the working man's beer in the United States, in the heartland, as we would say, it's not too surprising that you would end up in this situation. And whether you say about time or not, I feel like this is about time, and I think it's going to echo for a long time to come, because with them being downgraded, that's usually really more than a yellow light on a street light. That's usually a sign to sell. That's a full stop. And so they can say hold all they want. Anybody with any skin in the game is going to reevaluate the position, and I will never give financial advice, but I don't see recovery anytime soon, because they aren't willing to do the things or say the things that would enable a recovery. And I think this is just the beginning of these kinds of movements. I really do.
Yeah. No, actually, if they really wanted to, they could make a recovery, but they're not going to be able to do that, because what they had to say, that would cut them off from ESG permanently, and they're not ready to do that.
No.
But what I think is, like, this is an inflection point because it's such an easily replaceable product.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of people that have a mild preference for Bud Light, but I don't think that's going to be like Star Trek versus Star Wars. Like, if you don't have Bud Light, you have some Coors, that'll do. That'll do the trick nicely. And what's so amazing here, where the Gillette thing failed, is that the parent company behind Gillette, they have so many products, and people were so pissed off with Gillette, and they were like, no more Gillette for me. I'm going to buy this one instead. And it's another one from the exact same freaking company. Oh, I'm going to need this, and this. Again, from the exact same company, from Procter & Gamble.
Yeah.
Well, the Gillette brand in particular lost like $7 billion or something like that. That ain't nothing for the Procter & Gamble as a whole, because people weren't informed enough to actually punish the company. What I think is so amazing here is that this time, people are so pissed off that not only have they stopped buying Bud Light, but increasingly they went online to check, okay, my issue here isn't so much with Bud Light as it is with Anheuser-Busch.
Mm-hmm.
What other thing does Anheuser-Busch sell? And then they stop buying those things too.
Yes.
That's the real issue right here, that it goes beyond this one particular brand, but people are punishing the entire corporation.
Yes.
And for those who are wondering, what can we do to get out of this whole ESG thing? Well, this is the way. This is the way. How to do it is that you have to make it so that the cost of losing customers simply it becomes too high. That it's far better for them. It's a better value proposition for them to restructure their business to the point where they don't need the ESG money than to have it and lose their customers. That is the situation that Anheuser-Busch is finding themselves in right now. They are losing so much money right now that in the short term, they need the ESG money more because there's less audience or less customers leaving money in the books.
Yeah.
But that's a short-term situation. What this actually does is that it forces them to, if not them, but everyone else. It lets everyone else see that you might suddenly come into a situation here where you have to structure your business in a way where you have to choose between do you want customers or do you want ESG? And ESG is not going to help without customers. Because here's something that people need to realize. A reason that many of these companies have been able to grow to the size that they have in the first place is because of the ESG money, or rather because of the credit lines, which since has become ESG money. But fundamentally, it's the credit lines that allows the company to take on risk and investments that they otherwise wouldn't be able to take on, which allows them to grow to such sizes that otherwise wouldn't be normal. But the cost of that is that they make themselves victims of the capital behind who lent them the money to get to that position in the first place. Maybe that is not a good thing. Maybe Anheuser-Busch shouldn't be as big as they are. Maybe no company should be as big as they are without all of this short-term lending. They wouldn't grow to these sizes. They would grow to the size that the market actually can sustain. And maybe that's where we need to be.
Yeah, all I know is that this is still an incomplete list of beers. There's 160 or over 160.
Yeah, these are just the bigger products.
I mean, it's everything that AB, InBev, whatever.
I'm just glad it's not Miller, because then I'd have to hear more about it.
Yeah, someone very helpfully, if you go and check out the video that I put out, someone very helpfully left a comment with everything under the Anheuser-Busch umbrella all over the world. I pinned that comment so it would be easy to find. That's a long freaking list.
Yeah. And I mean, look, it's not like this is anything new. Anheuser-Busch is really just doing, like I said before, with this whole, like, trying to pretend to be the first ones to do this. They were the first ones to do this. Like 20 years ago, they already had
yeah, but those were jokes. Those were funny.
I know. I'm being facetious myself here. But the point is look, it's not like I don't think, and a lot of these people are pointing out the same thing. It's not like anybody cares about, that kind of a lifestyle. It's just, it's this massive swath of people just shoving it down their throats, right? And when you reach a situation like with Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light here, it is like the redneck beer of America, right? Like they sponsor every monster truck pull and race, and like you're not really broadcasting to or advertising to your demographic here. I mean, and at this point, if I was any of the other beer companies, I'd be laughing my ass off, and I'd do my best to try and usurp them. Because one thing Bud Light did have that Andre didn't touch on in his video, because I don't know how much you guys really get this over there, considering, it's a completely different country, obviously. But I mean, I doubt Bud Light's even that popular there.
I don't even think we have it.
Budweiser and Bud Light were not just the king of beers. They were the king of advertising. And I don't mean just for beers. I mean the kings of like these guys for the past 40 years have been knocking it out of the park with their marketing. There are so many campaigns. That was what that thing I just showed you. They have had so many campaigns that have worked That like I forgot how many great campaigns when I was doing research for this.
I'm very glad you brought that up, Tom. If you check the private chat, I just put a link there. Because the guy who's behind all of those amazing campaigns, this would be one Robert Lackey. He's the guy who did it for 20 years. He was the one managing the Bud Light brand. He was the one who designed all of those amazing, iconic campaigns. And he says here, brought or further disseminated by the Telegraph, it took me 20 years to build this brand. They dismantled it in a week, says man behind Bud Light's iconic ads. And that was then again marketing guru Robert Lackey. And he's the one who did all this. So he really was really was a marketing genius, something that Alyssa Heinrichside isn't. And it's like the funny thing, we brought like this interview, and what she said right there, all that stupid bullshit she said, if she had delivered all of that stuff like in a first week assignment in any marketing course around the world, she'd have failed. She'd have failed like the first module of the very first 1 week of course in Marketing 101. She'd have failed it. Because the bullshit she said had nothing to do with marketing.
I'm going to take culture through a quick memory lane thing here.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Broad, wise, easy one,
Yeah.
right?
The Bud Frogs. Yeah, they were great, right?
I love you, man.
I love you, man. Yes, that was great too.
I love you too, son, but you're not getting my Bud Light.
That's right. Yeah, I love you, man.
What's up? That's just the last 20 years right there. Those are three very iconic. And the one I showed already. Yeah. Plus, here's the creme de la creme. This guy isn't responsible for this guy. But, I mean, come on. Who doesn't know of Spuds MacKenzie?
There you go. Or
that was predates him. And Real Men of Genius. I mean, come on. Yeah. I mean, these guys were the king of advertising, like I said, not just beers, but advertising. This is just, I never drank. I'm not a drinker, but I loved Bud Light and Budweiser's ads. I had the Spuds MacKenzie posters and stuff. Everybody did. Yeah. I can't imagine you didn't have this one, Culture.
I did.
Because my cousin did too, yeah.
Yeah.
And they went completely down the drain.
I love that, right? And I mean, the guy put together iconic campaigns. I mean, he's not lying. He really was the man behind these things. And
yeah, he's the one who built the brand.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Clearly.
But look, it's bigger than this. I mean, the downgrade story is the one that hits the hardest right now. Yeah. And I think, and Andre, correct me if I'm wrong, and I already mentioned it, during my opening monologue about this, but I suspect that you're going to see more sell-off than you are people holding at this point.
Oh, hell yeah, obviously, because when the market says, because the analysts, they said, we're going to downgrade it into a hold because we think that the situation is much worse than Anheuser-Busch lets on, then obviously to the market, this is a sell signal. And indeed, we keep getting more reports that sales are sinking. There's no stopping this. And you can also, what's also really telling to me is global CEO of AB InBev, which is the European or the Belgian parent company. They say, because he laid out the strategy, and that is later down in this article. I'm just going to read the quote from him, and this is the greatest bullshit quote I have ever heard. We will need to continue to clarify the fact that this was one can, one influencer, one post, and not a campaign, and repeat this message for some time. So basically, that is their way to get out of it. They're going to triple the spending into advertisements, and they're going to harp on the message. This was not a campaign. It was just one spot, one advertiser, and only one can.
Well, and that statement just shows you they've lost already.
Exactly. I want to hear before I dissect the minutia of that statement. I just want to hear your take on it. So, Tom, like, you're evidently not too impressed with it.
No, that the fact that they even had to address it in that way tells me that they've lost. I mean, there was another way to address it with using almost the same type of terminology, but just saying like, you know, it wasn't even like a commercial or whatever. You know what I mean? It was a contest. It was to celebrate. You know, it was a how do you put it? Because Dylan wasn't the only one to get one of these things. This is a thing they do all the time to influencers and stuff like that. I mean, they could have just played it off like it was never a part of like their main. They were never planning. I would have been more like, no, there was never a plan to have Dylan be like the spokesman for Bud Light. Anybody who was insinuating such a thing was talking out of their ass and such like that. It's just, you know, he'd been better off just saying, look, Bud Light's for everybody. But was Dylan ever going to be like a spokesman or anything like that? Is there going to be a campaign? No. It was a one-off deal, and it got bigger than anybody thought it could be. It was just a one-time deal, right? Like, I don't get it. Like, the way they addressed it almost makes it worse.
Yeah, thank you for saying that. I'll get right back to that.
Yeah,
culture. Your thoughts on this statement and their strategy?
Yeah, and briefly, because I have to leave to get my own show set up. But I'll say this: this particular this statement is tone deaf. It's the same thing that their recovery marketing campaign has tried to do, which is just gloss over something that they can't. They're treating the audience like they're stupid. The audience is not stupid. You can't treat people that way. You've already treated them that way. And to insinuate that there isn't broader themes going on within your company that is in support of, you know, whatever these agenda items are, is insulting. And your audience is not stupid. Your consumer is not stupid. The people who are your customers are not stupid. And your distributors aren't stupid. They see it in their wallets. They're getting destroyed. You know, can you imagine being a beverage distributor and you only sell the 80 different products that are available from Anheuser-Busch? That's all you push out of your warehouse. Suck. Yeah, I mean, you don't have a competitor's product in there to put on shelves to go out and send your guys to merchandise at your local convenience stores, your Walmarts, your groceries. No, these people are getting hammered, and how long until a beer distributor company is on the phone with another beer company? Hey, we do all this great marketing, How about we market some of your product too?
I guarantee that's already happened.
Yeah. So I fully suspect that they're going to have to pivot. It's just at what point are they going to pivot? Because so far the momentum here has not slowed down. You've seen the decrease in sales since this happened over a month ago now, and those numbers are getting farther and farther away from performance.
Yeah, the decrease is increasing.
Yeah. And that's unheard of, right? And people want to look at the stock price, and recently it just had, this is a technical term, but the pattern analysis for it is a double top. Everybody looking at the stock is looking at the performance outlook. It's got a long road to hoe. I mean, they're going to be sitting in this hole for a while, and the hole's only going to get deeper. And they have to look, if they want to recover, they have to do as you suggested, Andre, and actually apologize and remember who their customers are, and sort out their financing in another way. Because honestly, until they do that, and they aren't looking for the stopgap or the gap filling financing that they need, to stay in the black. I mean, I don't know. If I were
that, or they just need to back up a truckload of money to Robert Latchkey's house.
Yeah, but he would have.
That's true. He couldn't help at this point.
Yeah, well,
I was being facetious, but yeah.
But he might be able to. I mean, I would take that on as something that could definitely help. But that would come with a lot of uncomfortable things that would be tantamount to an apology, essentially. That again, this CEO.
Well, that's the biggest problem in his statement is there's no apology.
No.
And the way they put it out there, it almost sounds transphobic. I hate to say it that way, but it does. It almost sounds like the way you said it was worse than anything else you could have said.
And there's two sides to that.
Sorry,
because,
Culture,
one
but
thing.
you finish your point, but yeah.
No, I was done, mate. Basically, go ahead. And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Andre.
No, because you are quite right, Tom, that this is soft distancing from Dylan Mulvaney. So it's like the apologizing without
Okay, then it
apologizing.
sounds soft transphobic. I'll say it.
Exactly, but it does. and that is why you now have like gay bars and stuff like that who are now boycotting them too. So you basically manage to piss off absolutely everyone. But even worse than that with this statement, I'm just going to repeat this statement one more time. We will need to continue to clarify the fact that this was one can, one influencer, one post, and not a campaign, and repeat this message for some time. And this is treating their audience like they're stupid, because he's basically going on like, this wasn't a campaign. Okay, and you know what? If you want to go by marketing terms and vernacular, then technically, no, it wasn't a campaign. But you know what it was? It was paid advertisement.
Yeah.
It was a paid advertisement, subcategory, social media advertisement and influencer marketing, and they spent as much money on this one spot as they would a whole other campaign. So was it a whole campaign with multiple commercials and advertisements and news and everything like that? Because that is what a campaign is. No, it was just this one thing. But this one thing they paid as much for as a whole regular campaign. So then him trying to say that it wasn't that campaign, is that the problem? Like, you're really mincing words here. The issue isn't if it was a campaign or not. It was a paid advertisement where this functionally became the spokesperson for your brand. That's the issue. And if that happened in a campaign or in one social media integration, who the fuck cares?
Again, it's beyond me that they think that people are going to care about the difference in the language. Everybody knows what this was, and you paid this person to do this, and it's technically not a campaign, but it's an advertisement, as you mentioned. Look, nobody's going to be fooled. And again, with that being said, I do have to dip out, but I want to say thank you again, Andre. Your video today, you and Tom, what you guys worked on and put out is incredible. So if anybody hasn't seen that yet, Andre's going to walk you through the entire reason that this is happening, just from the beginning and all the way up through now, and he does it masterfully. And we need more of that kind of analysis, not less. So do support that video if you can, guys. Thank you. See you soon.
Take care, Culture. We did have a super chat for you earlier. You missed in
really?
between the Interium. They're convinced
go
that
ahead.
your hair actually grows you instead of the other way around. So.
Oh, wow. No, I was born just like everybody else. Anyway, have a great day, guys. I'll see you later.
That's what they keep telling him anyway.
Hey, stop it.
Yeah, I know. With friends like these.
With that,
but yeah,
let's carry on with these super chats.
Let's start with the ones that have to do with this business, and then we'll go back to the top. Mr. Tickle Trunk says, I have a different take on the statement. I think that it's tone deaf because they didn't read the room. Not everyone is aware of this stuff as we are. Yes, that too. Well, even to us, like I said, even to me, like, again, I'm not somebody who usually jumps to those kind of conclusions because I was just talking to somebody in the chat about, Griffin, about how, we're so used to those terms being thrown around. But no, the way they did this, and I can totally understand why the gay bars and what backlash they've had from both sides. It's like they handled this horribly. It's like if they could write a book about how not to handle this shit, Bob Iger and Bud Light would be the first two chapters. Or Bob Chapek, I should say, actually. But you know what I mean? Like, that's exactly how you don't handle these situations. I don't know if you agree with that, Andre, or not, but yeah.
Oh, I agree completely. You summed it up perfectly.
Yeah. And then ActionCom says, speaking of Budweiser, do you know the history of Adolphus Bush family? No, I don't. He had so much money, he was able to buy a full-size 1-to-1 dollhouse for his daughter. What a fall. Oh, now I do kind of remember this now that you say that. Yes. Oh, yeah. When you got way too much money.
Yeah, we'll have to get back to that in a later video, but thanks for
Yeah.
the history lesson.
Yes. Speaking of history, Big Daddy MRI says, I only drink Trappist beer from the monks in Belgium. Chimay, Westmalle, Trappists. How do you say that? Trappists?
Trappist.
Trappists?
The Trappist Roquefort. That's actually one
Yeah.
of my personal
I figured.
favorites as well. I love me some Trappist Roquefort. The
I figured you knew
darker,
what
the
it
better.
was. I didn't say you like it necessarily, but yeah, the occasional Shiner Bock. That is about it. Well, see, now you and Big Daddy MRI could probably drink together.
Yeah.
See,
Big Daddy MRI is a man of good taste when it comes to beer.
Yeah.
Trappist freaking rocks.
Yeah. And then this is one that wasn't a super chat, but Mara Carlisle. I wonder if you are a younger individual, because they say, wasn't that scene in the Scary Movie the "What's up"? That's what they were making fun. That's how hardcore Budweiser's advertising on that campaign penetrated the pop culture. They actually had that in Scary Movie, if that makes sense. So
yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Like, that's what I was trying to say. Like, these guys do what they were doing. And then ESG says, I can't say that, Tom. I know. To my explanation of what to say. And then Tommy Reviews says, the canary in the coal mine for Bud Light, the cringy ads with Amy Shamu. Yeah. And that hack Seth Rogen. I forgot about those. That's right. I'm glad my state beer Yuengling, if I say that right, hasn't gone wrong. I wonder if that one chick was behind those ads too. The Amy Schumer and Seth Rogen bits. I totally forgot about those. So that hasn't helped their image either. And then Darius Munchausen says Slurms McKenzie was a parody. Evidently, I guess I don't know what Slurms McKenzie is, but it must be a parody of Bud's McKenzie, I'd imagine. I'm not getting the reference to what it's from. And then let's see here. What else do we have on the beer front? Let's see here. Alexander Diaz says, dang, missed the message about how poor the family that founded Budweiser managed it. There's a great book about it. Oh, well, we'll have to check into that. And then Alejandro Diaz also sent in CRC. That is, that's Croatian Krona, isn't it?
I think so. No, that has an H in it.
Okay.
I don't recall exactly what.
I'm not sure what that is. Offhand. CRC.
Not recall that one. In this,
I thought you would know. Oh, it's Costa Rican colon.
There we go.
Oh, wow.
I figured it would be.
Thank you for listening in Costa Rica.
Muchas gracias.
Yes. But yes, we did get the history lesson. And thank you again.
Tom, I have to drop out for 2 minutes. I'll be right back.
Sure, I'll just keep going with Super Chats. No problems. And then we've got, let's see here. Any more according to this? Here we go. So here's another one from Eduardo Guerra from Mexico. Says, send all InBev, Corona, Modelo, etc. back south of the border on discount, please. Greetings from Mexico City. Well, thank you for listening in Mexico. There you go. And maybe it'll be on discount before too long. There you go. And then we had an update on Jamie Foxx. According to Darth Maul, according to his daughter, he's out of the hospital. So that's a good news. If that's true. I haven't seen that yet, but thank you for bringing that to our attention, Darth Maul. And then we're just going to run back to the top here and go back through these. We got Strike, Burn It All Down, who sends in 14 South African rands and says, this is BS. Redstone is mandating make money. I'm just reporting what I'm hearing, brother. That's all I can say. Section 31 comes first, though. That's the update I've gotten in between then and now. Darius Munchausen sends us some popcorn. Thank you for that, Darius. And you were needed it today, I'm sure. And Jesus Davila gifted 1 membership. Thank you so very much, Jesus. We appreciate that. Walter Tomaszewski chiming in on the Disney business says Disney's area in Florida is the size of San Francisco. They can't just pack it up and into a U-Haul and move it elsewhere. No, but they could open up another park somewhere. That's just it. But yeah, I don't even really see that being very feasible. There's so much that goes into that. We'll have to see what they do. I think they're kind of screwed. Walter Whitewalker says thoughts on Leguizamo's comments playing Paltrow. I haven't seen these. Let me see if I can bring that up. Leguizamo.
And I'm back again.
Okay, I'm not aware of this one. John Leguizamo threatens to play a race-swapped Gwyneth Paltrow in a TV series. Okay. Well, let's see this here.
So it's like basically John Leguizamo starring Gwyneth Paltrow in the Paltrow biopic. Is that it?
I don't know, but what drugs is John on, and can I get some? It says he can play Gwyneth Paltrow on TV series based on ski trials since white people keep taking Latino roles.
Do they?
Oh Lord.
I do grant that Latinos are tremendously underrepresented.
This is true.
And I know there have been some examples of white people taking roles that should have gone to Latinos. I do not deny this. I don't know that that's a widespread problem this day and age.
John, we could almost be on the same page if you just quit taking the stupid pills. I get your point here, but you're way off the mark on this one, buddy. Let's not forget that this guy played an Italian plumber. Zontar says the brewery I work at had an all hands meeting due to the Bush situation. Really? We now can't mention politics and indicate we work for them on our socials. Interesting.
That's very interesting. And again, that only tells me that the situation is far more dire, because this is obviously now people who are in the industry and have business ties with Anheuser-Busch and who are distancing themselves from them. Soft distancing, but nonetheless distancing themselves.
Yeah, but the fact that other companies are taking this in consideration means it's not like some secret or anything. Bucky Cat has been a member for 1 month at the Midnighter level. Thank you so much for the support. Speaking of support, Big Daddy MRI gifted 5 Edge memberships. Thank you so much. Then ActionCom sends in another 10. Thank you so much. It says, speaking of the rich in history, never hear of Jack Grimm expedition to find the Titanic. Stop making Cleopatra docs. Why don't they find missing artifacts? Andre, can you suggest any artifacts?
Artifacts of what? From Titanic, or artifacts surrounding Cleopatra?
Maybe that, or just unfound things. Maybe, or
well, there's plenty unfound things.
Atlantis.
That would be one. Mummies in the pyramids, because there's none of that. Yeah, there's plenty of artifacts to go around.
Comics division might be a better person to ask this question. But I don't know. Mr. Tickletrunk says, hey, Netflix, mixed race people have always existed. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, most races are the way they are because of mixture of...
Exactly.
several different tribes and other people that were conquered. Mr. Reborn sends in 20 Danish krona, says neo-communism appealed to the capitalist greed.
Yeah, here's the thing to keep in mind. The ones running communism, they were always the worst capitalists. They wanted to share with you, but you didn't get to share with them. That was always kind of like their way.
I think you mean that the other way around, but yeah.
Basically, they want to participate in the wealth of others. They don't want others to have anything to do with theirs.
Oh, okay. So I guess you said it right, I guess.
I did say it right.
Investigative Examiner says, trying to spread our message on Twitter. I'm a journalist researching the WF and ESG currently. Your video was spot on. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Now we have representative of both as CEO. Sigh, keep up the good work.
Yeah, what he's talking about
The new
is
CEO over at Twitter, yeah.
the new Twitter CEO, which everyone is less than happy about, because this person, comes straight from the World Economic Forum, is heavy into ESG, and not only that, was super heavy into the procedure. So very, very down with the science. And this person is now the CEO of Twitter. And I get that people aren't happy about that, but Elon Musk has basically assured that there's not going to be any censorship or anything of the sort. And this ties right in with what Mecca J is saying. Elon just announced a CEO for Twitter, and people are not happy about his pick of this particular person. And indeed, there's no reason to be happy about this. I mean, this is a person you could argue. I'm not going to say it so we don't get taken down, but this is a person that certainly should not be in that position. Absolutely no need for that. But still, my understanding is that, or the thing to keep in mind here, is that Twitter is not a publicly owned company. It's a privately owned company. So she is executing the will of Elon Musk. And my understanding, based on what Musk has said already, is that she will basically be doing like day-to-day operations that he otherwise would waste time on. But the major strategic decisions and everything and policy decisions are still his to make, although she will have an input.
Yeah, and the joke on screen was kind of accurate. I didn't question the new owner, but funnily enough, my banning came at pretty much the exact time that the day that she took control. We didn't find out about it till a little later in the day. But it was really weird. I did not get a reason why I got put in Twitter jail for 12 hours. But yes, Dr. Coffinails is more correct. I got pre-canceled again. I don't know what I did. I don't even know. I actually have been very kind of unactive on Twitter in the last week, which is weird. But all of a sudden that happened to me and a bunch of other people. I was not alone. So I think there was some oddball business going on, Andre. I still have not gotten an answer as to what I did wrong.
Yeah. I don't know, but I will say I'm not happy with this pick at all. I mean, anyone that comes from the WEF in any capacity whatsoever and letting them into Twitter now, and Twitter is actually like a free speech platform. How long is that going to last with someone from the WEF there?
Yeah, exactly. Because Carolyn was the one who noticed that she put in her tweet. I'm one of the people she's just talking about, along with a few others, where she said, "I noticed a few people have been banned within the last few hours here. What's going on?" This was before we learned this news. This was all, the night before, but it was after midnight, so it was weird.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know. Odd, very odd. We always find ourselves in those weird, odd positions sometimes. Pirate Queen is here and says, William Nodelceder, if I'm saying that right. Bitter Brew, The Rise and Fall of Anheuser-Busch and the King, American King of Beers. Oh, there you go. So there's the, I guess that's the reference to check out. So if this gets any worse, Andre, you may have to look into that. And then Jerome Hughes says, or he's just become a member. Thank you so much, Jerome. We appreciate that. And speaking of members, we've got Pirate Queen, who's been a member for 7 months. Thank you so much. Sean the Movie Man for 23 months. Thank you so much. And then we are up to speed after we get this one from Sean Ashum, who says it wasn't just about the can. It was about the lady exec addressed the way going forward, the brand that was the tipping point. Yes. And I think that you do that, show that brilliantly in your video, Andre, that we worked on. So yeah. And again, that's what I was saying earlier, is you picked one of the better deals where people are talking. It's like, we don't care what people do with their lives. That one guy said it best, though. He goes, you take the biggest redneck beer in America, though, and you pick that as your spokesperson, or however you put it, even though I don't think he said that specifically. But like, I mean, that is not the image that you want for your brand, right? Like, I don't think any of these companies are putting any of this stuff into perspective. So Anyway, that is all we've got for today.
It
So
is
with that-
indeed. So with that, I just want to say thanks to everyone for
we did get a new
for
member.
joining.
3D
And
Honda.
welcome to all new members.
And Mecha J says Rotten Tomatoes has just removed the audience score. I saw that. Peter Pan and Wendy. I forgot to bring that up earlier. I saw Nerdy Home had posted that. So they're fortifying that movie now too.
Yeah. Rotten Tomatoes is no longer to be trusted. We've learned. We've seen this
we've
many
known that for a
times
while
already. Yeah. So can't be trusted. D-Bud Martin wonders, what about Conan? Well, we had so many other things to talk about today.
And I didn't get a
we
chance
lost
to
the
read it
panelists.
yet. So
yeah, Monday.
Because I was doing a video all week and working.
Yeah,
so
Monday.
I'll have to remember to try and read it this weekend.
Yeah.
But speaking of this weekend, we got A-rated B movies and B-rated A movies coming back on Saturday, where Script Doctor and I, and maybe Clobber and Times, and who knows who else might show up, are going to be talking about Superman 3. So hopefully you join us then. And Andre, did you have anything else to add?
There may be a scripted video too coming over the course of the weekend. So just check in, and there will definitely be clips over at Midnight's Edge Live Archives. Until then,
Awesome.
Please help share the Bud Light video we put out yesterday.
Yes, please do. And with that, as we say here at Midnight's Edge,
it is time for some koalas in the rain.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koala, koala, koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given.
Oh, I guess I might have missed, looked like we had one more member chat I might have missed here. Hold up. Where's it at here? Sander. Why am I not seeing it, Mr. Tickle Trunk? Don't miss Sanders. I posted it in the chat. Okay. He says he posted it in the chat. Where is it? Of course I'm not seeing Mr. Tickle Trunk. I see this. Okay, here we go. Oh, it was just, okay, for 25 months. Well, thank you, Sander. I thought it was a member chat, but it was a member milestone. Thank you so much, guys. And with that, now we will say koalas in the rain.
Yeah, now.
Koalas in the rain, koalas in the rain, no fucks given, koala, koala, koalas in the rain.